Welcome on this Thursday, Bill Michaels Show. Good to have you. Good night last night down at the Root River Center. Boy, what a fun time down there. A little loud last night. Had a group of guys that were in there throwing darts, and they got there, we'll say, early enough to liquidate. And that was a rowdy group last night. Mike Clemens and I doing the program last evening, but it was a lot of fun. It was good. And next week we are going to be at New Berlin Ale House. So New Berlin Ale House on Cleveland and Moreland Road in the Waukesha area. So come on out next week. It'll be from 6 to 8, New Berlin Ale House. Don't forget we have our show coming up next Friday. We're going to be at the Distillery in Grafton. That's brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. The Distillery in Grafton. We're going to have some Bud Light giveaway stuff. And on site that day, we are giving it away, so you can take it home with you. You can walk out the door with it. It is a 55-inch big screen TV, giving that thing away that day. So looking forward to that as well. Some stuff to get to. I know that, our buddy Bill Huber wrote a really good piece regarding Aaron Rodgers. And I read a little bit of that. I was listening to some of the Brewers stuff from last night. Marquette with a nice win last night down at the Fiserv. It was packed downtown. I stopped downtown after I got off the air last night. And it was funny because I was sitting there and I went over to Calderon Club and I was just going over to see my buddy Gino. And in walks Vin. I told you, every time you go to Calderon Club, there's somebody there. And Vin Baker walks in. We were sitting at the bar talking to him for a little bit. And then watching a Marquette game. And the Admirals were playing last night. So downtown was, and there's a convention of teachers in town. So downtown was pretty hopping last evening. So hung out down there for a little bit. But Marquette, they continue to impress. They got a win. Number 20 Marquette, a win 83-75 over number 22 Providence. So nice win for them. And that's where I'll tell you this, throughout the season, give Marquette credit because that's where teams have gone to die, ranked teams. So nice job protecting the home hardwood. Meanwhile, the Badgers the other night got a nice win, 63-60 over Penn State, and they're 12-5-2 on the season. So, or 12-5 on the season, 7-2 at home on the season. So nice job there. But today, just a lot of reactive stuff. We got Andrew Brandt coming on the program today. Ben, am I correct on that? Andrew Brandt today, right?
Yep, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock Central. Andrew Brandt's going to talk to us. And the reason we're bringing Andrew in, because obviously he was a guy that spent time in the front office in Green Bay. So he kind of knows that mentality, albeit a GM or two removed. But the interesting thought is, and again, you wake up this morning and it's, obviously NFL, Dak Prescott, and Aaron Rodgers. Those are the three big headlines. And then you'll sprinkle in, can Jalen Hurts play with the bad shoulder? And can Brock Purdy survive his first real pressure-packed game? And, and all that kind of junk. But it's Rodgers and Dak Prescott and the Cowboys and stuff like that. But I was watching this morning and I know kind of Bill Huber had the sentimentality of, people are ripping, and I ripped Rodgers for talking about MVPs. Because you don't care about him anymore. You can bring him up, that's fine. But he talks about winning a championship, and I give him credit for it. But he talks about playing at this MVP level and the MVP caliber and what he can do, and and I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't care. It's words anymore. And there were some people out there. I don't know if it was pointed at me or if it was pointed at others or whatever. But that's great. And that'd be great if he won an MVP, if he does it in conjunction with a championship. And he did talk about, he wanted to come back with the best situation for him to win. So it was, and there's reaction from a lot of current and former players, more former because they don't have to face him, but a lot of reaction. Gronk had things to say about it. I was watching Damian Woody this morning, and he had things to say about it. But a lot of reaction just saying, look, dude, you're owed a lot of money. The team committed to you. You got to commit to them. This is not a one-year deal. Nobody would sign this kind of a deal expecting a one-year deal. They've done everything you wanted to do. There's nothing to think about. If you feel you're physically ready to play and you can come back, then come back. Otherwise, you walk away. But you can't put all these predications on it of, if you keep my guys, if you think we can win a championship, if you're not going to rebuild, you can't make the team do something before you do. And that's what Mike Clemens and I were talking a little bit about last night. So anyway, I think that the reaction is exactly what we talked about yesterday, that there's this fatigue of, oh God, not here we go again. We just, and I think people love to listen, because they're waiting. Packers fans everywhere are waiting for him to say, yeah, I'm coming back. I feel really good. I'm excited about the team. You want the positive. And I think that's what people are fatigued by. You want nothing more than him to say, you know what? Last year wasn't a great year. I don't want to go out like that. I want to come back. I want a legitimate shot at winning. I think the team's going to do everything they can to put good pieces on the field. I'm ready to go. I'm mentally in. I think that's what people are hoping for. So, because I had a guy come up to me last night. He said, well, if everybody gets upset with Rodgers, then why listen? Because I said, that's the reason why you listen. Because that's what you're hoping for. I think that would be an unbelievable shot of adrenaline. It would still keep him in the headlines, but it would ease the anxiety over this, I think. So I think that's what people are looking for. I really do. I think that's why people listen. That's what people are hoping for. So we'll talk more about the team. We'll talk more about the contract, all that coming up today. We'll start to preview a little bit as to what's coming up this weekend, because you got really good games this weekend. I mean, Ben, obviously you're going to be paying attention to the Eagles and that specifically. But overall, there's really good games this weekend. The rematch of Cincinnati and Buffalo, this time in Buffalo. The last time these two teams met, January 2nd, was when DeMar Hamlin collapsed. The Cinderella story that is the Jacksonville Jaguars, after being embarrassed by Urban Meyer last year, going into the Chiefs' den down at Arrowhead. And then obviously the Cowboys and the 49ers, the Cinderella story that's Brock Purdy, backed up by a really good offense. And can the Cowboys continue to play the way they did against Tom Brady and company? Because we know that team wasn't really a good team and good competition. So are the Cowboys for real, or are they not? And then there's the Giants. The Giants went into Minnesota, two teams that we thought were kind of paper champions, and the Giants got a win. And now a divisional rival comes in and faces Jalen Hurts, who's got a bum shoulder. Man, the storylines for this weekend are fantastic, aren't they?
They are. It's been a perfect storm and all that. I mean, without Rodgers and without Brady and without some of the older quarterbacks, like, this does feel, we talked with Kevin Harlan yesterday about it. It feels like somewhat of the continuing changing of the guard, or even just new guys that are on the scene that we haven't seen on the stage yet, in Purdy and Hurts and Daniel Jones and those guys. So yeah, I'm excited. And the end of the season stuff, I mean, Sunday could be an all-time day.
Yeah.
When you just look at those two games.
Yeah, those are fantastic. I mean, every one of them is really good and exciting in its own way. So I'm hoping the Jaguars make it a game. I'm just if the Jaguars lose, I want to see them going, wow, what a ride we had after the season we had with Urban Meyer last year. What a ride we had. And the Chiefs are the Chiefs. It's interesting because part of the discussion was last night, you take away some of the weapons, Devontae Adams, from Aaron Rodgers, and one of the biggest weapons from Aaron Rodgers, and you see what happened offensively this season. And then in the meantime, the Kansas City Chiefs lose Tyreek Hill. They go out and get, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and they pick up Juju Smith-Schuster, and they still have Travis Kelce, and they just make the thing go. And Patrick Mahomes, again, has thrown for over 5,250 yards to be exact, 41 touchdowns. And, don't get me wrong, it's not like MVS was an integral cog, but they just made it work. And so, you question, well, why can it work there and not here? And I've said all along, I think part of it is because Travis Kelce is just such a beast, and you have to have that in a tight end. So, going back to Aaron Rodgers saying, he loves Tanyan and loves Mercedes Lewis, I still think you need to upgrade at the tight end position. You need that legitimate cat. If there's one out there, I think you got to get it. I think you got to go get it. So I'd love to see the Packers be able to pick themselves up a legitimate pass catching the Kittle. You're not going to find these guys because there just aren't that many out there. But if you can track one down, man, have somebody develop into that, be fantastic. But yeah, it's going to be a fine weekend. I'm excited. And then the Brewers had a get together last night, and now my understanding is Mark Antanasio was not there, Ben.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, so he was not there last night. So which I would have loved for him to be there, because I want somebody to ask him the question, saying, look, you said money wasn't the object and Juan Soto would have been in play, and then it's very much money constraints this offseason. So what realistically do you believe this team can be with the talent they have or don't have? And then Josh Hader gets a 1.5 million less in arbitration than what everybody thought he was going to get. And it still would have been affordable for the Brewers. And it just, that doesn't make a ton of sense. So it's like that trade just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So it's just, it's like, what direction is the team going right now? And you would love a legitimate answer to that. And I know Craig Counsell had some things to say last night, and we're going to hear from Willie Adames, but it's because people, we'll email or tweet or whatever and say, hey, can we talk some Brewers? And I'm like, we can, but what is there to talk about? They haven't really done much. You can talk about hopes and dreams and who might play where, but you kind of know what it is right now, barring some kind of and the Brewers are very good at this, about bringing guys in just before camp opens up. So it's not like they're done by any stretch of the imagination. They could still bring in one or two guys, but you kind of wonder what they're getting at this point. What are they going to bring in? Because there are some free agents out there that you could look at and go, maybe, might be helpful. But a lot of the big dollar people are pretty much off the board. But if you were going to ask a question, Ben, what would your question be regarding the Brewers?
To Atanasio or to
just in general? I mean, if we're going to sit here and talk Brewers, and I get it all the time, well, let's talk some Brewers. And I love baseball. But my question is, what is there to talk about?
I mean, unfortunately, the headline is not how good the team can be this season or what its long-term viability is.
Right.
Like, the big question will be Yelich, and it always will be. But the big headline to come out of last night is Willie Adames saying that he has not yet had contract extension talks after maybe some rumblings that they had started. So I think the unfortunate question is, are they going to trade all the good guys away this season at the deadline? Could they be heading towards that route?
Well, so, but that's my point, is the biggest news is that they have not gotten contract extension talks, or at least broken them off, with Willie Adames. That's it. I'm happy to sit down and talk a lot of Brewers baseball. But they lowballed Corbin Burns. They're not talking to Willie Adames. They've got some young guys they're hoping make an impact. Wade Miley's coming back. Okay. The boulder is not rolling fast downhill going, here we come. We're going to run through the NL Central like a steamroller. I mean, that's not happening. If I had to say, which is a very lame ass question, but it's the truth. It's like, what is your level of excitement for Brewers baseball other than other than just going to a game and being part of the tailgate experience in summer and so what is your excitement for Brewers baseball? And that, somebody just said their hitters are meh. That's kind of like the feeling about the season, right? They got really good starting pitching, and everything they put around it is meh. Now, maybe they shock the world. Maybe some of the young guys come up and just, really, really kind of lay into it, and open our eyes and make us all believers. That's best case scenario. And that's pretty much where our hope is right now. But for the most part, it's like, 877-867-1670. Things are wide open today. A lot of stuff to get to. Things are wide open today. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. They are the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. And in addition to that, we are going to be, don't forget, next Wednesday night, we're going to be out at New Berlin Ale House on Cleveland and Moreland. So come on by and say hi. The huddle coming up on next Wednesday night. And then next Friday, doing a show live at the Distillery in Grafton. Doors open up at 11. We're on the air from 11 to 2 local time and live out there. And somebody can walk away with a 55-inch big screen TV. They've got lunch specials, Bud Light specials. They're giving away all kinds of tchotchke stuff. Looking forward to it. That's all brought to you by our friends at Bud Light as well. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Graham, hey, our friends Kane and Kane Jewelers in West Bend, reminding you they can rock your world. All you got to do is make the trip to West Bend, and it's worth it. It's worth it, you know. You've got Valentine's Day right around the corner, right? And it may not be the ring that you're going to buy, but it could be something else. And don't forget to check out the Buy Like a Guy podcast. Buy Like a Guy podcast. And Andy Kane does it, and it is really good. It's really good. Very sensible. But he goes off on all kinds of different topics. It's a lot of fun. So check it out. Everybody's in a podcast. They go to Buy Like a Guy podcast and see for yourself. And don't forget, they are in West Bend. Go to Kane, Koehn, KaneJewelry.com. That's KaneJewelry.com to see even more. Good stuff there from our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers. I do want to go back to the Bill Huber article. And he had talked, the title of it is Aaron Rodgers Brings the Stupid Out of People. Does Aaron Rodgers only care about MVPs? That's what some of you think. If you only paid attention to the clickbait, I don't. Let me say this. I think Rodgers wants a championship. That goes without saying. My argument the other day was that's great if he feels he can play at an MVP level. But I don't care when it comes to winning an MVP. And that's my point. It doesn't matter. All you want to know is, can this team, and don't forget, let me back up here for a second. Brett Favre doesn't win a championship without Reggie White and that defense. Aaron Rodgers doesn't win a championship without Charles Woodson and that defense and the pieces that were around him. And then you've got to step back and ask yourself, do you have that now? And if you say, yeah, you got to say unequivocally, no. You're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. They don't have that kind of personnel right now. You know, could the wide receivers develop into that? Yeah. I mean, they'd have to really be on a fast track, but yeah. You've got a pretty good offensive line. Although the concerns of, you know, the Giants, the Jets, those teams, the Eagles, those defenses, that concerns me because they got handled. I mean, they flat out got handled. Even the Lions at the end of the season handled them. They had pressure all over Rodgers. So it concerned me. It's not like when you had Chad Clifton, Brian Bulaga, and everybody in between. You know, when you won when they won a Super Bowl. So you got to have a defense. So for as much as we sit here and we talk about, you know, what Aaron Rodgers can do, it's you know, which is the most concerning thing, that they kept Joe Barry. The defense started to play well, but come on, let's be realistic, man. You got to have a really good defense. You just do. So, you know, Aaron Rodgers could come in and win an MVP. That'd be great. But does it matter? You know, does it matter? Because if Rodgers comes in and wins another MVP, but the defense falters again, I mean, look at it this way. You've got right now the defenses. The Giants are the lowest ranked defense, and their defense is not good. They're ranked 22nd in the league. San Francisco's number 1, postseason. Philadelphia's number 2, postseason. Buffalo, number 6, postseason. Tampa Bay, for as bad as their offense was, their defense was good. You got Baltimore. They were there. They just got beat. Kansas City, they were there, just got beat. I mean, Cincinnati, other than that, is the lowest rated defense. And they're 15th. Packers were 16th overall, giving up 21.8 points per game. And in the points per game column and category, San Francisco's number 1, Buffalo's number 2, Baltimore's number 3 postseason, Dallas number 5, Bengals number 6, Philadelphia number 8. See what I'm saying? Tampa Bay's up there, Kansas City's up there. The Giants were right behind the Packers. The teams that we look at and we go, okay, that team's got a legitimate shot at winning. They have a solid offense and a solid defense. So Aaron Rodgers can come back and maybe win another MVP. But I don't know if defensively they're good enough to win. Not the way they played for the first 3 quarters of the season, right? I agree this offense needs to help the defense. I agree that this offense needs to score more points, needs to be better and more efficient in the red zone. All of that. You're 100% correct. Quarterback didn't look good. The broken thumb, the banged up knee, all of that. Okay, I understand that. But it's the one thing we ignore and we don't talk about nearly enough, and that is the defense has got to be better. And that's why when Matt LaFleur stood up there and said he didn't, foresee any changes, specifically defensively speaking, when everybody was asking him about, Joe Barry, you're kind of like, what? The defense regressed. You got better players and it got worse. Something's not right there, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Let's go to Ron, listening to us in De Pere. Ron, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
All right. Yourself, Bill?
I'm doing great today, man. What you thinking?
So, I'm thinking, since we both know that LaFleur didn't want to fire Barry, what if Goody would say, either you fire Barry or you go down with the ship and say that's one way to get rid of him, since neither one of us are a huge fan of LaFleur?
That would be, that could happen. Mark Murphy would have to sign off on it, but yeah, that could happen. And you run the risk of having an animosity within your own organization. But they put it this way: they have the power. Goody has the power, and Mark Murphy has the power to say this is what we're going to do, and you have no say in this. But they're trying to give Matt LaFleur the benefit of the doubt here.
And another question for you, since I know we both figure Rodgers will come back, what would you do with Jordan Love then?
If I don't have to do anything, I wouldn't do it, only for the fact that I'm looking at, now if somebody offered me a bag of ones and twos for him, I'd be trading him. But I don't have to do anything. I wouldn't have to do anything.
Realistically, we got a first round pick plus a fourth round pick, when we drafted him.
Right.
An interesting thought: if the team like the Jets called and would be interested in trade for Zach Wilson, would you consider doing it?
Not for Zach Wilson. Mike White, I would, but not for Zach Wilson.
Not Zach. You don't think he could sit behind Rodgers and learn?
Not after what I saw of him. I know he got humbled really quick because of his attitude and what he said and how he wouldn't take responsibility. But I didn't like the way he played. He's kind of more of a whiner, and God knows you don't need any more of those. But I wouldn't put it this way. Mike White would not be the only thing I would take in that trade. It would have to be other draft choices and such. You would want to get a backup quarterback out of it because you need somebody just in case, God forbid, Rodgers goes down.
That's why I thought, even with Zach Wilson, even though I know he ain't great, but at least he has experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mike White played well until he got
overall.
Yeah. Mike White got, he played well until he got folded up in Buffalo. Then he ended up going down and really never recovered after that. So, but I'd probably take Mike White and a bunch of draft choices.
Such as that you mentioned Mark Murphy. What do you think of him?
I think Mark has done the best he can, and I think that he really, really, really wants another Super Bowl before he retires. And people get on Mark and involved in football, and then they don't want him all stuff, and you don't want him in the war room, but you don't want him making personnel decisions, but you want him all over, situations. And it's like, look, he's either a football guy or he's a business guy, and he's done a great job with the business up there in Green Bay. So, I mean, the advice that Bob Harlan gave him when he left was let your football people do the football things. You worry about the business and the money. And all Mark does is kind of listen. So I think Mark really wants a Super Bowl with Rodgers before they both kind of ride off into the sunset.
Okay. I question that a little bit if he does. Because I relate it back to Mark Murphy. His thing is the Titletown District.
Right.
And, and that's his baby that he built up. And if we go back to the 70s, their people aren't going to flock to see that as much. Where it's like the Brewers, if they lose, they'll never sell out games. The Packers will always sell out games.
Right.
But, if we're not good, people going to come from all over the world to see Titletown District like they do now, which will be a financial hit to the Packers.
Well, but they do have other things in there than things to see. I mean, that pays rent to the Green Bay Packers, and they have to have it to make revenue. It's like Jerry, because that's revenue the Packers don't have to give to the NFL. That's not revenue share money. That's their own money. They have to have that. That's the part of the business that Mark Murphy has built up and done such an incredibly good job at. So they don't have to share that money with the NFL. I appreciate the phone call. I got to run. But I want to go back to that because I don't think people realize that. There's a business side to this that you have to understand. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This January, hit the road to riches at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Play each day for thousands in free play and entries into the big $200,000 grand finale. The more you play, the closer you get to big money. So hit the road, Jack, or Jill, or whatever your name might be. The road to riches, only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit paysbig.com/road-to-riches. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show continues on. Hey, our friends at Cunis RV, they are Wisconsin's fastest growing RV dealer. They are your travel and camping experts. And if you're in the market for a motorhome, a fifth wheel, a camper van, maybe even a travel trailer, they have got you covered. All the great brands, Gulfstream, Forest River, Nexus, Thor, Heartland, Crossroads, they've got it all. And so much more, by the way. I mean, I'm just giving you a few, but they have dealerships that they not only continue to expand, but then they enhance the dealerships when they get them. And they're all over the state of Wisconsin. I mean, they're unmistakable now. They keep putting up new facades, new buildings, redoing the buildings, putting up new signage, expanding the lots, making it a larger and larger inventory. Check out our friends at Cunis RV. Go to KUNES. Find the one nearest you. KUNES. And now's the time to buy. KUNESRV.com. Now's the time to buy, because this is when you want to get the good deal going into the, if you're thinking about summer, now's the time to get the deal, because the 2022s need to move. 2023s are coming in. They're new, and they're willing to deal on everything. So check out our friends at Cunis, KUNES, CunisRV.com. That is CunisRV.com. So I'm sitting here going through a lot of the stuff that's coming in, whether it's emails and over on the Bud Light live stream and stuff. With tons of opinion on all of this stuff from about Rodgers, and some good Brewers questions in there too. We'll get to, but when you go to the Rodgers side of things, and there's some that believe he can play, he needs some pieces around him. Others believe that he can play, but he's never going to elevate the team. Others believe that he's washed up and done. That's the kind of polarization, maybe is the better word, that's going on. But I read a lot of this stuff, and I just find it interesting because let me kind of back up here. Rodgers can play. I believe he can play. Has his skills diminished? I don't know if his overall skills, but I know this past season he looked slower. He just physically looks slower. It's kind of like when you look at and I've said all along with like Aaron Jones, when Aaron Jones is at his best, he's got a kick, he's got a gear on film that you can see, and it's just there. And you can't quantify it. You can maybe give it a split second, but you just can see it. It's to the eye. You can see it. The eyeball test will tell you. Rodgers this year looked a little slower. So it was maybe that was part of the downfall. Maybe holding onto the ball a little bit too long was part of the downfall. Maybe, the inexperience of the young rookies. Maybe the fact that, you lost Randall Cobb for numerous games. I mean, all of that plays into it. I understand that. It's not just Rodgers. The question is this, okay? And again, I go back to what I'm going to say from this year going into next year. I don't care about the regular season. The regular season is the build-up for the postseason. You got to get to the postseason. Now all of this we analyze, but I don't care about individual awards. I don't care about Pro Bowls. I don't care about MVPs. I don't care. This is all about honing your skills and honing your team throughout the season to get to the postseason and winning big games when you need to. And big games over the last few years have ended in ugly fashion at Lambeau Field. That's concerning. That's 3 years worth of stackable statistical proof to say, look, does he give you the best chance to win? Yes. Is there enough there? Because I'm not going to lay it all at the feet of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to do that. And I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know what guys feel. I don't know if some guys are like, oh, God, here we go again in the locker room, not knowing who they're playing with. Or they feel like Rodgers has the ear of management. Therefore, if they're not his buddy, he could say, I don't like that guy, and they get rid of you. I don't know if that's divisive. That's been brought up. That when, he says about Amari Rodgers, yeah, he's a punt returner. Like that really resonated a little bit in that locker room. Like, whoa, that guy's doesn't even like Amari Rodgers. And sure enough, now Amari Rodgers obviously was dropping a football, but he's then cut. He's cut loose. And some guys are like, Aaron didn't really give him a chance. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that dynamic is. And you're never going to know until guys leave. They tell you off record, behind closed doors, whatever. But I know one thing: Rodgers can still play. They need certain positions fulfilled, and the quote when he talked about all the different guys and we'll see what they do. Is that that's when you get into is that a veiled threat that if you don't bring these guys back, if they want to come back, then I'm not coming back. That's the only thing, because a couple of those positions you need to upgrade. You need better wide receiving. Would I mind seeing Randall Cobb back? Not really, because Randall Cobb knows it. He can help young guys and he can help new guys. He knows it. But your tight end position, I'm wide open there. They don't utilize it nearly enough. And the only time it seems to be prevalent is in the blocking when your tackle isn't getting the job done, or Bakhtiari was down, or Yash Nyman was underperforming over at the right tackle position. And that's when suddenly tight end help really became prevalent, because you needed a blocking tight end to kind of help chip block. But they never really threw to the tight end on a consistent basis. It wasn't like he was integral to the offense. I believe you need more beef up front defensively. I believe you need another wide receiver, a veteran, and a tight end. And then in the draft, you can always find yourself another lineman or two offensively. But that's where I start and that's where I end. You got beat on both sides of the football in the trenches consistently this season. If you don't fix that, nothing else matters. So that's while Rodgers is over here, my main concern personnel-wise is all over here. Correct me if I'm differently. 877-867. I'd love to hear from you. 877-867-1670. Watcher says, I don't believe 12 gives you the best chance to win on this team anymore. He's become toxic. Complicated fella. Rodgers can still play. His lack of mobility is a signal to change his game a little bit. The problem is Aaron seems like he still wants to win his style. Pack fan says, I think Wyatt next to Clark on a regular basis is going to be huge next year. I tell you what, Devontae Wyatt looked good, didn't he? When he finally got his full opportunity. Then you bring, obviously, Rashawn Gary back, and you hope that, and remember, the one thing I will say this, I'm not expecting much out of Rashawn Gary. It's always the year after you come back from an ACL. It's not the year you come back. It's the year after is when you really kind of get back to form. So as much as I want to say, oh, here comes Rashawn Gary, I'm not expecting much. And it's not a knock on Rashawn Gary. It's just the truth. You don't feel fully strong and have that full mobility and such until a year after you finally work through that. And a lot of guys will tell you that. So that's I'm not expecting a lot there. I thought Kingsley Enagbare did a pretty good job too, but if you can find another outside backer, I wouldn't mind that and get a rotation of guys. Hell yeah. I'd do that in a heartbeat. James says the problem with the defense is 100% on 7. That guy plays like a joke. No, he doesn't, James. Come on, man. Quay Walker had a hell of a season. He was one of your leading tacklers. Now, when it comes to getting off on run blocks, I agree with you. But he was even good in coverage. I think it takes a while. It takes a while. So I know he had a pretty good season. I expect a lot more out of Quay Walker this year. I agree with you. But he wasn't a joke. He was a lot of what they built him to be originally, of what they thought he would be. 877-867-1670. Rick says Rodgers didn't even throw to Tanyan. The only thing we know about Tanyan is he can block. He can't block worth a crap. They didn't throw to him much. And I thought for sure Tanyan would be, especially in the red zone, I thought he would be more of a factor. And it was just amazing because the red zone offense, specifically down the stretch, it just seemed dysfunctional, didn't it? There was no rhyme or reason to it. And I'll lay that at the feet of Matt LaFleur. There was not a lot of original play calling. It just didn't look like it. It looked like 3-4 wides, one running back, shotgun, and not a lot of anything. Not a lot of anything. Good point, though, Pac fan. Tanyan also was coming back off of the ACL. But I just didn't think they utilized the tight end. I don't even think they looked at it. And there were times that Tanyan was wide open. He was wide open, and they just didn't go to him. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. When we come back, I'll get to John, I'll get to Bob, I'll get to Cast of Thousands on hold. Stay tuned. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at New Mail Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, beyond the borders. And they have this all-in-one weight loss pack, and I'm excited to get it. I'm waiting for it to arrive. I'm excited to get it because they say this thing is the real deal. Now, the other program was great, and you know that because I lost a ton of weight on it. But I want to do some maintenance. I'd like to lose about 20. But yeah, the new mail is kind of like weight loss in a box, they call it, and it's easy and it just melts off. So I'm really excited about this, and then I can fill you in. But between the ED, which is 98% success rate, the low T, they can help you out with, just stop in and get your numbers checked if you're over the age of 30. Now the weight loss programs, supplements and such, get your energy back, all that stuff. They can do it at New Mail, but you can't do anything if you don't call. 414-455-4451, 414-455-4451. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
even when the weather outside is frightful. Your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers defensive backs coach Jerry Gray is reportedly on the list of candidates for defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. Head coach Arthur Smith and Gray work together at the Tennessee Titans. The Falcons also intend to interview Vic Fangio, who currently has been a defensive consultant for the Eagles. Aaron Rodgers said on the McAfee show he still thinks he could win another MVP award.
Do I still think I can play? Of course. Can I play at a high level? Yeah. The highest. I think I can win MVP again. The right situation. Right situation, is that Green Bay or is that somewhere else? I'm not sure.
Former tight end and 4-time Super Bowl winner Rob Gronkowski had this to say on Up and Adams.
I'm totally fine with everything he said, except one major part. That's the MVP again. It's just that I think I could win another Super Bowl. Like, bro, like, why are you thinking MVP? Like, don't you want Super Bowls? Like, Super Bowls are 5 times greater than an MVP award.
Divisional playoffs this weekend. The 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys, 5:30 Sunday night. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy on being a 3.5-point favorite over Dallas.
You know, we look at it as a challenge, but we're also excited because it's like, man, if we do play to our full potential, it's like, what else can we do? So those are the kind of things that we ask ourselves every day, and we're excited about, but I'm excited moving forward for, being on a win streak.
How has Purdy gone from the last player selected in the draft to 6-0 so far as a rookie quarterback? Linebacker Dre Greenlaw.
When all is stacked against him, Mr. Irrelevant, everything that's, and to come out and still be who you are and play football the way that he plays, man, it's just a testament to him.
As 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Kind of the capologist, business of sports guy, and he's going to give us the lowdown on Rodgers' contract and the ramifications it could possibly have. Which we're pretty familiar with, but maybe what's next for the team and how you want to go about handling something like this again. So we'll get into that discussion, and kind of there's some other situations that are out there. Lamar Jackson is sitting out there as well, and some other quarterbacks that need to be locked up. So. Joe Burrow is coming up on big contract. Him and Jamar Chase, as a matter of fact, coming up on big contracts. We'll get into all that discussion when we come back in the final hour of the program. So no problem there. This one's from Anthony, who says, I think you hit the nail on the head, Bill. We are all waiting for Aaron Rodgers to say we are committed and coming back. And when he finally does, then Packer Nation will rejoice because we want him back. We're just tired of the waffling back and forth. He said Rodgers is putting us through the same thing Favre used to. And that's what I was intimating at a little while ago. I think that's what a lot of people that's why we listen, right? That's why we listen. So let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. And we'll jump back into it. John, Bob, and a cast of thousands all on hold. I promise you'll be first out of the chute. We got 2 minutes. Hang in there for 2 minutes. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, with Wisconsin basketball getting back on track Tuesday night with a 63-60 win to snap a 3-game losing streak, some of the players called it a must-win, but head coach Greg Gard wasn't willing to go that far.
I don't know if there's ever must-win. You always want to win. I mean, there's no one's not more important than the other because if you don't get it done, it sits with you a little longer, and then you don't want them to pile up. So I'm just happy for our guys that they got they saw or got their fruits of the labor that they've been putting in.
The Badgers' next game is now in doubt against Northwestern on Saturday in Evanston as the Wildcats are dealing with COVID issues within their program. The Milwaukee Bucks have a few games off trying to get Giannis Antetokounmpo healthy, who has missed time with left knee soreness. The Bucks have gone 2-2 without the Greek Freak, and also Chris Middleton has now missed 17 straight games. The Deer are back into action Saturday as they're in Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers.
Are you a non-union construction tradesperson proud of what you do? Did you know you're worth so much more than what you're bringing home today? Put the power of LiUNA union labor to work for you. When you join LiUNA, you get the pay you deserve, plus pension and healthcare benefits above and beyond your compensation. That's zero deductions for pension and healthcare benefits with LiUNA, because you're worth it. Learn more at liunawisconsin.org/join.
Aaron Rodgers isn't ready to make a decision on his future, but he does sound open to playing for another team if the situation fits. And also, he does not want to be involved in any rebuild, he told the Pat McAfee Show.
That's a mindset. If they want to go younger and think Jordan's ready to go, then that might be the way they want to go. And if that's the case and I still want to play, then there's only one option, right? That's to play somewhere else.
And for now, everyone waits for Rodgers to make his decision. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Back, Bill Michaels Show on this Thursday edition. Rainy, drizzly. I know some areas north and west of here got pounded with the snow last night. I was seeing some of the pictures. So stay safe. I know that some of the roadways were kind of slick, kind of nasty. So be careful out there. 877-867-1670. Coming up in just a little bit, about an hour from now, Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus is going to be here. We'll talk with him about the rest of the NFL. In the meantime, let's get back to the phone calls. Let's go to John listening to us in western Wisconsin. John, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hi, Bill. Thanks for taking my call. I enjoy your show. You make people think.
Thank you.
You're great.
Thank you.
Couple things on my mind. Number one, who's the heck's running the show down there in Green Bay? Is it Gutekunst? Is it LaFleur or is it Rodgers? LaFleur designs great plays. You can see it in the running game. But then in the passing game, you see this guy going back and standing there and standing there and standing there. It's all based on timing. This guy, the last couple of years, is ruining the timing of the pass plays and putting tremendous stress on the offensive line. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, who still throws a great pass, is an impactful player anymore. And this is what you need to move on, is impactful players. He's saying, he wants Randall Cobb, and he's talking about the big dog. But who's an impactful player? It's a fast-paced game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree.
As far as LaFleur's concerned, I think he designed some pretty doggone good plays, but the last thing I need is a head coach flapping his wings in the second half, trying to get the crowd roaring. If we need cheerleaders, let's hire some cheerleaders. We're the only team in the NFL that doesn't have cheerleaders.
Right.
We need a coach that can adjust to the game as the game goes on. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. No, I 100% agree. I think there are times, and I appreciate the phone call. I look at Matt LaFleur from the first year he was here to this past year. And, there was always what Rodgers could do that a lot of quarterbacks couldn't do. So you allowed that for bailout. You allowed that for play calling because he is a very unique individual. But I just thought that this year, specifically in situations, certain situations, it seemed, we use the term predictable maybe far too much, but it did at times. We all knew 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, they're looking deep. You're 90% of the time you're going to be in shotgun, 3 or 4 wide, one back maybe, and they're going deep. There wasn't a whole lot of, plunge it up the middle, A.J. Dillon or Aaron Jones running for 2 yards or 3 yards and picking up a first down. And there was none of that. It was like, okay, this is our last shot at, getting downfield. And that was it. So in that situation, I agree. In goal-to-go situations, red zone, it became somewhat predictable. Between the 20s, it wasn't terrible. But there were times it was relatively predictable. And Matt LaFleur wasn't like that. Matt LaFleur, there was a couple of game plans that he had coming out of the chute in the first, 16, 18 plays. And they were really well drawn up situations. I mean, it was movement, it was motion, it was, one, run, to the left, run to the right, quick pass over the middle, take a shot downfield, back over around, guys out of the backfield, bubble screens. I mean, it was just, there was a lot of things that were very creative that he would just like unload on teams. And it was almost like once the chambers were empty, it was just like, okay, let's just go back to, 3-4 wide and straight routes and not a whole lot that was, inside slant. And it wasn't overwhelmingly creative. And the lack of faith in your offensive line is concerning, especially on short yardage situations. That alone tells you you're getting beat. You need better players up front. I think Bakhtiari is still really solid. I think Elton Jenkins is really solid. But what you need is guys that not only can pass block, but guys that can run block, that can give you a hole, that you can look them in the eye in a huddle and say, I need 2 yards. I need 2 yards. I need 6 feet. Go get me 6 feet. That can do it. Now, you can't, it's not always going to be that consistently, but you got to have the threat of we can run you over and we'll do it, for defenses to suck up linebackers and start to bring in linebackers and safeties. That's how you get over the top. And we talked about this yesterday. Even Kevin Harlan, who joined us yesterday, said teams, if you looked, and I got criticized for saying that this team doesn't have a downfield threat because everybody's like, oh, Christian Watson blows the lid off. He changes defenses. Even Kevin Harlan said, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Teams were still single coverage. No worries. He had really good speed, but the threat, one, of Rodgers throwing to him consistently, 2, of him catching the ball consistently, teams did not fear over the top anymore. They didn't. They haven't had a consistent success downfield throw. So this team's got some work to do. Admittedly. They just do. 877-867-1670. Let's go to Bob listening to us in Tomahawk. Bob, how you doing today? Bob, how much snow did you get up there?
Oh, man, Bill, we got buried. I think we got about 8, something like that.
Oof. Well, at least now you got good sledding snow.
And I'm out here driving in this stuff for a living, so it's no fun. But anyway, Bill, I'm not going to beat the dead horse on Rodgers, but I got to beat 2 more dead horses here for you. Number 1, if the Packers keep their 3rd-round pick this year, they're stupid. They should trade to the Bears for a 7th. Just get rid of it. Dump it. Whatever they got to do.
Right. Yep.
And number 2, this team, they don't care about the tight end. I don't understand that. They haven't had a good one since Jermichael Finley.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous. Some teams have 2 or 3 good ones. We got nothing. The cupboards are bare. I don't know what they're going to do. But like I said, the 3rd-round pick, dump it. Tight end, I don't know what they're going to do. Ridiculous. Thanks, Bill.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. I said all along, if Darren Schultz hits the open market as a free agent, that's the guy I go for. Down in Dallas.
Don't you think
or Dalton Schultz? I'm sorry, Dalton Schultz. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't you think he's kind of a product of their scheme, though? Like, they have 3 dudes. They have Schultz, they have Ferguson from Wisconsin, and Hendershot, I think, is the 3rd.
Yep.
They all wear mid-80s numbers. They all look the same on the field.
Right.
They just scheme them wide open.
I would agree. He's also got really good hands. And
right.
If by chance, I know he wants Mercedes Lewis back, but I would put Dalton Schultz as the next guy in that room as a free agent. I think he makes a difference. And it gives you a legitimate threat. And then you have no reason to throw to the tight. You have no more. Your reasons not to throw to the tight end are gone. I really believe that. I don't know why they don't use the tight end more. I don't. Even that's what Jermichael Finley used to get so frustrated over, because Finley was a hell of a receiver. He wasn't always the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he was a hell of a receiver. Just getting the ball. And they just didn't. Big hands, tall guy, big wingspan. He was a pass catching machine in the red zone, and they just would ignore. He'd get 1 or 2 catches early in the game, and after that, they'd ignore him. It was all downfield. And you can do that when you have Greg and Donald and James and Jordy and all those guys. But you can't do that when you don't have that stable of receivers anymore. I get it. It's a passing game, quarterback game, all that kind of stuff. But you can't. That's not your focus. And that's why we thought this offense would look so different this year, where they may not have that consistent downfield threat, but they're going to be able to move the football. And it never got going. It was the best term that, a lot of people use consistently about the Packers offense this year is dysfunctional. It just never got into a rhythm. It never had an identity. What would you, if you had to say the identity of the Green Bay Packers offense was what? It wasn't a run game. I mean, it was, had they utilized it more, but how many times do we have to listen to Matt LaFleur say, only 2 carries for Aaron Jones? That's unacceptable. I'm going to have to look at the tape. I mean, that became a cliche. So much so that we started saying, well, let's put it on a t-shirt because it's becoming a joke. And then, is it a passing game, a short passing game? Is it a downfield passing game that just didn't connect, consistently? I mean, what was the identity of that offense? And then obviously they just had a lot of shuffling going on. It was a mismatch year because guys coming back from injury, and you don't have a lot of that this offseason. You only have Rashawn Gary coming back from injury, I think, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of guys actually, Stokes too. But you didn't have a lot of that. There wasn't, and the identity in the red zone was nothing. There was nothing there. It wasn't like they were going to run it in. They weren't going to run it over you. They weren't going to be, 3 yards in a cloud of dust where they could just manhandle you. It was going to be inside slants, corner tosses, bubble screens to the running back out of the backfield, none of which were overwhelmingly effective. It was just a down year. It just really, really was. Juice says their identity was get to the red zone, kick a field goal. Right.
You forgot to take the sack part right in the middle there.
Take the sack every now and then, yeah. Inexplicably, unforgivably take the sack. Yeah, you're right.
Throw into the face of oncoming rushers.
Right.
While the other side of the field was open.
Tom says, who told corporate America that the general public was in love with Rob Gronkowski? They keep jamming him down our throats. I'm sick to death of him. He scores well. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So I don't know what to tell you. He's a likable guy. Some of his, the credit union. Is it the Armed Forces Credit
USAA.
Union? USAA. Some of those are pretty good. He's pretty good there. I don't think he's as good as Peyton Manning, but he's pretty good. He scores high. Otherwise, they wouldn't use him. That's for sure. Mark says at least Crosby had a good year. He did, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Right? At least we didn't have Maher. Right? No doubt. 877-867-1670. Give us phone lines are wide open. Give us a shout. 877-867-1670. Rob Renner, Pro Football Focus, coming up after the top of the hour. A couple of hours from now, we're going to be talking with Andrew Brandt as well, talking about what next, or Mike Renner, talking about what next for the Green Bay Packers, what his thoughts are in regards to moves to be made and how they handle all of this and things that were or maybe were not said. And then also some of the other situations in the NFL. You got a guy like Lamar Jackson who's kind of hanging in the wind out there right now. And I got some strong feelings on that too. I'll say this. Lamar Jackson, I understand what he wants and I understand where the team is. And I hate to say this because normally I'll side with a lot of the players. I don't side with the player on this one. We'll talk about that too. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up this portion of the program. Brought to you by our friends over there at Lux Golf, Luxe, luxgolfbays.com. That's luxgolfbays.com right there in Franklin, down the street from where we were last night, as a matter of fact, at the Rock Venture Complex. And there were people over there swinging it last night. Yeah, it was kind of a misty, nasty, rainy, flurry, sleety, snowy thing last night down in Franklin, and there were still people over there kicking it. And you can see those heaters from a mile away. So you're still warm, you're toasty, you're swinging the clubs, you're enjoying yourself, and no problem. So head over to the Lux Golf Bays. Go to Luxe, Luxe, luxgolfbays.com. Whether it's an individual just getting your swing on, you want to get a group together, date night, Bunch of dudes getting together. Whatever it happens to be, they can handle it. They got a bar in there. They got food in there. Really good stuff. That's luxgolfbays.com. luxgolfbays.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bread. Delicious bread. It's so essential, it's often been exchanged like money throughout history. Well, at Quick Trip, our freshly made bread from our bakery saves you money. Because right now, our quick hot savings is Quickery white bread. Just 79 cents a loaf. 79 cents? Can you buy anything for 79 cents these days? Yup, a loaf of our fresh white bread. It's like inflation never happened here. So buying 70 loaf. We got you covered.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show. Continuing on. Hey, this portion of the program brought to you by our good friend, Lisa Lee Ortel and her staff and the Realty Group. They can help you with all your real estate needs, whether you're looking to buy, maybe sell, even invest. She's a condo specialist as well. You can follow her on Facebook. But go to lisamoveswi@gmail.com. lisamoveswi@gmail.com for any questions if you're looking for a real estate agent, specifically in the Milwaukee area, Milwaukee 98 414 617 414 617 Get a hold of Lisa Lee Ortel and her team of experts. They've worked with a lot of great people, and they can help you with even a very low closing cost and credits and such all throughout this year. But again, she's a certified condo specialist, works a lot with VA loans as well. So get a hold of Lisa Lee Ortel and the real estate company, real estate agent there, and her group of people, 414 617 6798. Really, really good people. And just unbelievably pleasant to work with. Her husband's a vet, and just awesome, awesome couple. So if you get a hold of anybody, you're looking for a real estate person, that's the person to go to. There you go. This one was from Jack, who said, what do you think of Mason Crosby? He was accurate. I know his distance numbers, went down, obviously. He was 1 of 4 from beyond 50. So the touchback percentage this year was really low. There was only 2 kickers, I think, in the league, if I go back through Pro Football Focus, that had worse numbers in that area. Sometimes, though, you don't know if that's what they're supposed to do. If that, if they're kicking for coverage or if they're kicking for touchbacks. I mean, you would figure most of the time you're kicking for touchbacks, but you never know. And you figure the leg strength is not going to get, any better in that sense. He's 39 years old. But is it that cold-blooded decision to say, thanks, Mason? It was funny because Mike was telling the story last night, Mike Clemens, that, he was sitting at I think it was Ted Thompson's Packers Hall of Fame induction banquet, sitting at the table with Mason Crosby and Molly. And Molly was talking about, if we can, if Mason can hang on for another year, maybe 2, then they're set. They were building a house down in Texas, back where they're from, and thinking about doing all of that. And now it's been 3 years, 3.5, years, I think. So it's kind of played out. I don't know I know Mason said he had a good year. He was excited about it. The system is good with Pat O'Donnell and Coco, and the operation is really, really good. And he's excited about that. He said he wants to keep playing. He would like to keep playing. I just don't know if the Packers would say, I don't know if that's in our best interest. Now, you start to look at other teams. You got a Maher down in Dallas. You bring in Ahmed Ramiz, the kicker, and he's supposed to be for kickoffs, and suddenly he hurts a groin muscle. You've seen other kickers, miss big kicks. I don't know if you want to move on from an accurate kicker who can kick at Lambeau Field and knows it extremely well. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting decision, because that's not one guy that obviously Aaron Rodgers would love to kind of like walk off the field with, but he has not been specifically mentioned over and over again in Rodgers' discussions. But that's another guy that they have to make a decision on, So, this one's from Anthony, and Anthony, regular all the time. He said, I was listening to one of the podcasts, and they were talking about Rodgers not being ready to make a move, yet the team made all the decisions for him, but he holds all the power. How is it that he holds all the power? Well, he does, in the sense that they have to kind of wait and see what he's going to do. But he made sure he doesn't have a no trade clause. So that at least makes it somewhat easy, but you can't really do it. He made it to where you can't do anything with him if you wanted to trade him away until after June 1st. So if you're going to get draft choices, you're not getting them for this year. You're going to get them for next year. You may get a player that can help you, but you're not going to trade him. You're not going to. Rodgers is going to be a Packer this year. All this talk and speculation, I mean, I get it. You have to think about it because there's a possibility, a minuscule chance that it could happen, but it's not. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. It is going to be, Rodgers is going to take his time. He feels like he can play and still win MVPs and wants to play for a championship team. So it's a matter of put a few more pieces around. I don't think the Packers are that far away. Let's be honest about this, okay? For as much as I sit here and say that, you need this and this and this, I still don't think the Packers are that far away. Okay. I'm on record of saying this, and I think I stated it on Monday. I said, Rodgers is coming back. There's nothing that, it's not like Rodgers has texted me that he's coming back or, that I've heard this through the grapevine. No, I'm just telling you, Rodgers is coming back. If I had to put money on it, Rodgers is back. That does not, I'm not wavering on that. I think what we're going through now is fatigue, but I think now when he says, not we didn't ask it, none of that. It was McAfee kind of asked him about, the offseason, and it was an AJ Hawk question, him and his buddy on the McAfee show. And that's where he just kind of like went through this tapestry of words of all these different things he would like. He never said, I'm not coming back if they don't sign these guys. He said, these are guys I would like to end my career with. So we'll see how they treat them. It will be interesting. He didn't say, hey, if they don't bring him back, I'm not coming back. He kind of insinuated towards Devontae. I want Devontae back. I want Devontae back. I want Devontae back. So we all took it as he's not coming back unless they treat Devontae really well. But by that point, Devontae was out the door, right? Devontae was gone. And he still came back because he got the money. It's about the money. It's about all the money sitting on the table and the ability to win a championship. I know he doesn't want to come back for a rebuild. He'd probably say, hey, trade me after June 1st. But I don't have any doubt, really, that he's not coming back. He'll be here. Now it's a matter of what else did they need? What else did they need? Rashawn Gary's coming back. You probably need more depth in the trenches on the defensive line. You need depth in the secondary as well. Not a bad way to go. Right? Maybe a safety if you lose Adrian Amos. You probably need that. And what you would really like, you don't necessarily want to rely upon a safety that's an incoming rookie. You'd love to get one, but I think you need a veteran. So you really need to make a decision there on your safety position. So I think you need a veteran wide receiver, a veteran at safety, draft the rest. If you can find, if you can find another really solid body in the draft, you're probably going to take it when it comes to guys in the trenches. And then if you can draft another tight end and get them to work, that'd be great. I don't think you're that far away. Now, are you that far away from being a championship defense? You got to buy in. I don't know if Joe Barry's the right guy. And now that you got Jerry Gray interviewing with other teams, and if you lose him, then he's been kind of the guy that has been the, quote, inspirational leader that gets in guys' asses, holds them accountable. So I don't know. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. We want to hear from you. Again, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout and let us know what you think. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This January, hit the road to riches at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Play each day for thousands in free play and entries into the big $200,000 grand finale. The more you play, the closer you get to big money. So hit the road, Jack, or Jill, or whatever your name might be. The road to riches, only at Potawatomi. For more details, visit paysbig.com/road2riches. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Tire Service. They're out in Johnson Creek, and that's where I take my car. And whether it's simple things like oil changes and such, or even some of the other repairs that I've had to make. And there was just little stuff like that under skid plate in my car that ended up having a piece break off, and it was hanging down. I mean, even stuff like that I took out there to them. They took care of it, man. It's awesome, and they guarantee their work. And they're honest with you. They'll say, "Hey, I can't, fit a screw in here anymore. It's all busted up. So, you want us to zip tie it? You want us to do something else? You want us to weld a piece?" I mean, they're just honest about it, and you don't find that in people that handle your vehicles anymore. And they don't charge you. Some of the stuff that you get charged, like holy crap! If you don't have like a lease
JacksonAllTire.com. You can see it. Johnson Creek exit right off of 94, just north of 94. Right? You can see the Goodyear Center from the road. Or if you want to go north up into the Watertown area, they have it there as well. But they handle everything from cars like mine to minivans to trucks, SUVs, and big rigs. They can fix you up there too. They have that facility. So stop in and see my friends at JNL Tire. Go to JNLTire.com. There's JNLTire.com. Good stuff. 877-867-1670. Let's go back to the phone call. Let's talk to Matthew.
Matthew, how you doing today, Matthew? What's going on, buddy? What's happening?
Hey, Matthew. Hey, this is Matthew. Thanks for taking my call, Bill.
You bet.
I'm concerned about the Jerry Gray situation and being possibility for another defensive coordinator. And I'm concerned that there's a small minority of black Packer coaches when 3/4 of the team is not white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hate to open this can of worms, and I don't know if you want to address this, but I'm a white guy, and I'm an old guy, but I think that there's disparity in the coaching, especially, okay, if you aren't going to have a white head coach, okay, why in the heck do we not have black offensive and defensive and special teams coordinators? I mean, perhaps we'd have a little bit better camaraderie on this team and a little bit better buy-in and more performance. I see that we just hired a female trainer for the first time. Perhaps maybe Rasul Douglas will really give up snacks this next year, like he said he's been addicted to not healthy snacks in his past, and maybe a new trainer like a female, maybe he'll listen to a female trainer. I hate to open this can of worms. I'm going to hang up and listen.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now, on the staff, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, it could have changed. I don't know. I think it was on the staff. When you talk about offense, defense, and special teams and strength and conditioning, on that staff that are around that team every day, I think there's like 16 or 17 white coaches and 8 or 9 black coaches. I don't know. I think that's what it is. I'm not positive. So I couldn't honestly tell you. I haven't looked at the disparity, but I remember this came up when they were talking about the additional hires of minority coaches and opportunities. And I just remember kind of, going through the numbers with the Packers, but that's what I remember. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I know that there are and have not been an overwhelming amount of opportunity and or progression for minority head coaches. And that's what the Rooney Rule was supposed to fix. I know, I understand it's a good old boy network. I get it. I understand it's about the minds and about who you know and, and all that kind of stuff and respect. But if you had, if you had an overwhelming amount of black players that just felt they could not play and or relate to a white coach, I think they want the opportunities. I understand that, but I don't know what to say. I mean, there's been success under a guy like Andy Reid. There's been success under a guy like Tony Dungy. There's been success under Mike Tomlin. There's been success, under, Sean McVay. I don't know what all that specifically means. I just know that the disparity of players versus coaches is enormous. And that I understand, but that's a whole other social issue than it is more of an actual on the field X's and O's type of issue. I don't claim to be overwhelmingly knowledgeable in that area, but when I do talk to players or if I've talked to past players, they all say the same thing. Black players will all say the same thing. Yeah, this guy's really good. I wish he'd get an opportunity. You know, we've been talking for a long time about like a guy like Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator under Andy Reid in Kansas City. Part of the problem has been is that other teams are hiring coaches and Bieniemy isn't getting a chance because they're in the postseason. So there's been an uproar about that, but I'm not. I don't claim to know enough or be experienced enough, other than what I hear, and that's all I can absorb in the social ramifications and on the field ramifications of white versus black. And I got to be honest with you, I have never. How do I say this? Whenever I've been around anybody in the world of sports, I've always said sports is the ultimate melting pot. I just don't look at color. I don't. And I know that's hard to either believe or whatever, but they're just guys. They're just players, man. Guys I played with, guys that I worked with, players you cover, they're either likable or they're not. If I've got a good coach, I don't care what color he is. He's a good coach and can relate to me, and he's my guy and has my back, and I'm working for him. That's it. I don't know that guys are sitting there with this deep-seated resentment or unwillingness to listen to a particular coach because of the color of his skin. I think you're past that. Once you get into those locker rooms, you're kind of past that. So I don't. It's one of those subjects where it's really touchy, but you also want to be very honest about it. And I just don't know enough to sit here and say that as somebody who's white to go, oh yeah, this is how everybody feels. Cause I don't know. I don't know how that's relatable, but I know one thing: when I've covered teams, when I played, when I, even going all the way back to high school, I never, ever, it was never a matter of skin color. And we didn't have an overwhelmingly amount of black players on our team. We had a few and a couple of black coaches, but he was my coach. He was my coach. And he got through to me, man. And every time I'd come up with a big play, he'd always come over and grab the back of my neck and headbutt me when I had my helmet on. It's just, Coach Carter was awesome. He was my coach. So I don't know how to really respond to all of that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a lot more to get to. That kind of threw things off to the side, didn't it? We'll put this whole thing back on a track when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy-efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have a number of veteran players up for free agency. Kicker Mason Crosby is one Aaron Rodgers says he wants back if he decides to return to Green Bay.
A guy like Mercedes Lewis, he's an important cog in the wheel of the locker room and the momentum of the team. I want the Randall Cobbs of the world, if he wants to keep playing, in my locker room. You know, Alan Lazard, Bobby Tunyon, Dave Bakhtiari, their desire to re-sign these certain guys who are glue guys in the locker room will be an interesting conversation to be had.
Robert Tunyon is an unrestricted free agent. The 28-year-old tight end struggled at the start of the season coming off that torn ACL injury the year before and says it was tough the other day saying goodbye after the season was over.
I think that's honestly the hardest part is not knowing who you're going to play with next year in terms of like just the reality of an NFL locker room. Just people come and go, daily, to be honest with you. And then, of course, after the season, you just never know. So that's kind of why you can't take things for granted and people for granted because you never know when you're going to play with them again or see them or, talk to them and feel their energy. So, yeah, that's probably the hardest part.
The 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. in the divisional playoffs. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey was asked, how has Brock Purdy been able to go 6-0 as a rookie quarterback?
He's able to go out there and play with some juice, and he's extremely confident. And he's exactly what you would want in a quarterback. No moment is too big for him, and he makes corrections quickly.
That's the 49ers' Christian McCaffrey. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show continues on. I got a terrific email, and this is from Art and his wife, Casey, who said that they came to town. They went to a Bucs game. Their son had gotten them some tickets to go to a Bucs game, and they ended up going to Stenny's. And he said, I took your advice, went to Stenny's. The wings were fantastic, and you're right, they're huge. We did ask for the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread because it wasn't on the menu, and they said right away. So you are correct. The Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread was fantastic. He took the shuttle over. Billy says to say hello, which thank God Billy's back because Billy drives the shuttle bus over there, and Billy had some health issues. Glad to hear he's back. That's just awesome. Said Billy's back. Said to say hello. He thoroughly enjoyed our experience. Stayed at the Iron Horse Hotel, and ended up going back to La Crosse the next day. But what a great time! Thanks for pointing us in the direction of Stenny's. You are truly correct when you say it's the Cheers of Milwaukee. That's just awesome. That's the best stuff.
stuff. So when I hear stuff like that, and I get those types of emails specifically about people that I tell you, hey, try these places out, and you do it, and you let me know that it's good. And you know what? There's been times where people have said, hey, this didn't work, or this didn't happen, or I didn't enjoy this or this. I always get in touch with the people that own these places that we work with, that sponsor the program or sponsor the ride or sponsor, our on-site appearances or Super Bowl or whatever. I love that kind of stuff. So when these people reach out, it's awesome. But I've had people that have said, hey, things just weren't good. I always forward it over to the owners to say, hey, can you take care of this person? We always want to make sure everybody's happy. So, and there's been times where I've had clients that, friends of mine, if you will, where they've had businesses and it just hasn't worked out. And we had a couple that, we had a lot of complaints about. And I just said, hey, we're done advertising because we can't put our name on that. But when you get a note like that, and I've always said Stenny's is awesome, but when you get a note like that, that's great. So we appreciate it. Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus, coming up after the top of the hour. So stick around for that. Let's go back to the phone calls. Let's go to Mike in Rockford. Mike, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill. Thanks for my call. Good to talk to you.
You bet.
Got a question. Actually a comment regarding Aaron Rodgers, and I'm actually going to change my mind on what I said earlier in the year. I think actually looking at the San Francisco 49ers, and it baffles my mind how they can bring in this 7th-round quarterback that never played in the NFL and plug him in there, and the guy is doing phenomenal. Now, I understand they got a great head coach.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a great team around them. They have a really stout defense. They got a great offensive line, and they've got players. They got playmakers. They got McCaffrey. They got Deebo Samuel. They have, they got the players around them. But now that I'm thinking about it, Rodgers is old. If he takes a step back next year and regresses even more than he did this year, and he's got to go to his 3rd year after that, then you could just figure Jordan Love is gone. I think you trade him in the offseason, you get multiple picks, you get another really good wideout, you get an offensive tackle, and build up through the draft, get some other draft capital, get some guys that you can draft that will play next year, and you build this team like the 49ers, because it looks evident to me that Rodgers, you don't need the quarterback, because all you need is a manageable guy that can make the throws at the right time to the right players around him. And I think the Packers have a really good roster right now. They got some good young players. It looks like Christian Watson's going to be a star. Dobbs may be good. We'll have to see. And sign some of these guys, because the money, you hear Rodgers in the clip saying, oh, yeah, I got to bring these guys back. Well, you're sucking all the money, buddy. So,
right.
Maybe, you need to restructure your contract. So I'll hang up and listen, Bill. But I think we should move on and look what the 49ers are doing. Like I said, Bill, that just blows my mind away at what they're doing. So
no, I agree with you. I understand that. So let's start with, the Aaron Rodgers stuff. Okay. And let's go there first, because I think that's probably the most pertinent stuff that there is. When you look at the Aaron Rodgers contract, okay, the Aaron Rodgers contract really, unless you're building strictly for the future, okay, strictly for the future, it doesn't allow you to trade him away. It doesn't allow you to trade him away, because you got to wait until after June 1st. So if you're going to sit here and say, well, let's trade him away for a bunch of picks and, get the guys we need. Well, you're not getting him this year, because you can't trade him until after June 1st. You can't trade him until after that. Otherwise, the monetary hit would be so huge, you're just letting everybody go. You can't do that. So it's not until after June 1st, which would mean that you're getting picks for the 2024 draft and not the 2023 draft. So, yeah, you would get, in essence, a year of kind of what you have, minus quite a few guys that you would have to just basically cut loose, because you can't restructure those contracts, because the money that you would, if you did it before June 1st, the money that you would have to pay just to Aaron Rodgers and have dead cap money, you couldn't afford to bring everybody back. So there's no team that's going to trade you after June 1st and say, you know what, we'll give you all these picks now, and you give us Rodgers after June 1st. It doesn't work that way. You can't do that in the NFL. So you're kind of, I don't want to say stuck, because that's not the best scenario, but you kind of are. You know, I mean, that's you're kind of stuck. So I think this is, to me, whether you like it or not, this year they're bringing Aaron Rodgers back. They're going to make a decision on Jordan Love. Jordan Love really doesn't have much power. Okay, it's not like Jordan Love's going, I'm out, see ya, because he doesn't have any power. He hasn't done anything on the field. He's had 2 series in his career that were worth something. Other than that, he had Kansas City and Detroit last year. That was it. So it's not like he's sitting here going, look at me, I'm number one. I'm better than Lamar Jackson. I'm better than Jalen Hurts. I'm better. He can't do that. There's nothing there. So he's going to have to ride it out. And then after this coming season, you can make a decision on Aaron Rodgers and say, okay, maybe there's an out here. Or if Rodgers plays really, really well, then it really forces your decision, which would be just the Aaron Rodgers way, wouldn't it? Have kind of a down year, doubt me, I'm coming back, and then has this amazing year where you go, wow, he could play till he's 45. And now you got a decision to make all over again, that type of thing. So that would be kind of the way. That's also, let me say this, that's also one of the reasons I believe he's coming back. Because he's not going out that way. He's not going out with everybody going, yeah, his skills were diminished. It was time for him to go. He's no Brady, right? He's not going out that way. He's going out going, you know what? I got another year or 2 or 3 in me, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to stick it in everybody's rear end. You're all going to kiss my butt. You're all going to want me. I'm going to do this all over again, and you're going to have to swallow it because there's nothing you can do about it. That's what he's going to do. I'm telling you. Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus, going to join us coming up next. Stay tuned. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Wisconsin basketball team isn't exactly sure when its next game will be. Badgers were scheduled to travel to Northwestern on Saturday, but the Wildcats having some COVID issues and had to postpone their game against Iowa, slated for last night. If the Badgers don't play Northwestern, they will head to Maryland next Wednesday. They'll do so coming off a 63-60 win over Penn State. Coach Greg Gard was emotional at the end of the game as it snapped a 3-game losing streak. He was asked why it was so important.
I know what they go through. Heck, I got a kid on the team, my own son, and I treat them all like my own sons, but it's not easy when, they're taking shots from people on the outside and you're not good enough and you're not this, you're not that, to be able to see them rally and stick together. And that's always been an important part of every team we've had here, that you stick together through thick and thin.
Wisconsin sitting at 4-3 in conference play, 12-5 overall. Turning to the Bucks, they're going to make their way to Cleveland tomorrow. It's where they're going to take on the Cavs on Saturday. Unclear if Giannis Antetokounmpo will make his return in that game. He's missed the last 4 with knee soreness. Milwaukee 2-2 in those games. Currently have the second best record in the Eastern Conference.
Fleet Farm is your winter auto headquarters. Be ready for snow and ice as you hit the road this season with brand new tires. Going on now. Buy 3 Goodyear tires with installation and you get the 4th free. Plus, get up to $100 back after rebate. And find even more deals in our ad online at fleetfarm.com. Be ready for whatever winter may throw your way with Fleet Farm.
Well, Wisconsin's lost a player to the transfer portal, Dean Ingram, who played wide receiver last year after being a key piece at cornerback in 2021. Announced this morning he was entering the portal. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. Meanwhile, linebacker C.J. Getz announced he would be taking advantage of his COVID year and returning for his 6th season. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Joining us now on the hotline, our guy Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus at @Beth_Mike. If you want to follow him there, Mike, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
What a weekend coming up, and I will get into that. I'll get into the weekend coming up here momentarily. But give me your thoughts on the saga that is in Green Bay right now.
Aaron Rodgers, I truthfully, I was of the opinion last year that it was kind of time. I thought the ship had sailed, and I think it's well overdue now. Just because I don't see how you improve this roster. I mean, you're objectively not a team, as we saw this year, that's ready to compete for a Super Bowl. You're an average football team, and I don't see how that changes with your cap situation right now and with the draft capital you have. So I just think that the only way to get that to change is to have to get some picks back somewhere, and that can come from dealing Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so being the draft guru that you are, I've said that this team is probably going to look in the term of safety or secondary. They need more help in the trenches. Defensively up front, Devontae Wyatt, I thought, really came on at the end of the season, but they need more help. They need more depth there. Same thing with the offensive line and also at the tight end position, at the wide receiver position. Maybe later in the draft you find yourself an additional running back, but I'm not overly concerned about that right now. But give me your thoughts. Let's start with the tight end position. Give me your thoughts on a tight end that this team could take that you could say, yeah, this guy's a real guy to watch out for.
They're in luck. I'd be very surprised if they left this draft without a tight end just because it's the deepest position in this draft. It's one of the best tight end classes I've seen. And obviously you're going to see a lot of mocks with Michael Mayer, the Notre Dame tight end, just because the Packers obviously kind of covet inline blocking or just blocking in general from the tight end position. He's one of the best that we've seen, in our 9 years of college grading now in terms of just being NFL ready as an inline blocker, get open on his own. That speaks for itself. So he's the guy I think they're going to be interested in. I think also Darnell Washington, the Georgia tight end, if he's there in the second round, someone they're going to look at because size-wise, he's even bigger than a Marcedes Lewis. He's 6'7", 275, 280, and runs like a horse, going to run the low 4.6s. So that's an interesting name to keep an eye out that they have a role for in that offense.
Defensively in the trenches, I don't know if they're going to go early or late, but give me some of your thoughts on some of the guys that they could possibly be looking at for the system they play.
Yeah, the problem is I think the defensive tackle class, there's just not a ton of talent. There's really only two guys, I'd say, that are first-rounders. And they're probably going to both go top 10. That's Jalen Carter, Georgia, Brian Brzee from Clemson. And then after that, you're going to be looking middle of the second. I think this edge class is a lot deeper. If someone like a Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, a Miles Murphy from Clemson, because they like the bigger, explosive defensive ends. Those guys are both in that mold. If one of them falls somehow to the middle of the first round, I think they're running that card in. Unfortunately, a guy like Jared Verse, who I think from Florida State also fit that mold, ended up coming back to school. So there are some names. I think that, is obviously a position they've covered highly over the years, and one that they're probably going to look to replenish.
When you guys sit down and start to analyze and get into the draft, and then obviously you start to look at teams and you say, here's what their needs, here's where they're drafting. If you had to pick some of the needs for the Green Bay Packers right now and say, okay, let's highlight some of these positions, what are they? Do they need another wide receiver? Do we talked about tight end, more in the what would you go with if you're the Green Bay Packers?
I still think you need a wide receiver on the sole basis that you have two guys. I like Christian Watson. I like Romeo Doubs. I think that's a great starting point. But neither of them have ever been reliable. Both of them have big concerns with their hands and the reliability in that regard, that going forward, you just need a guy that you're not going to have to worry about that with. So while that may not be a guy you're getting in the draft or free agency here, I just think that's a big thing that's missing. Obviously, tight end, you don't have a ton of talent there. I think defensive side of the ball, safety is going to be a need after what they're going to probably go through this offseason, and I think defensive tackle, also a big need for them.
Is there a safety out there that you would have your sights set on?
Yeah, you're going to see Brian Branch, the Alabama safety, mocked to the Packers a lot. Versatile guy. I think he may even be best in the slot, where obviously they tried Darnell Savage at towards the second half of the season. But that's probably his best role at the NFL level. He's a guy that can, what the Packers want to do defensively, I think he's perfect because he can allow you to just play in that nickel basically every snap because he's good enough against the run and one of the best tacklers. I think he only missed 4 tackles his entire collegiate career. So that's the guy that, safety's not a position that gets drafted that highly, but he's one that's worth it.
I want to look into the current, so to speak, but I want to ask you your opinion. Brock Purdy, I mean, did you see this coming?
It's funny. I was actually so the media draft board. The Athletic puts them all together into a consensus board every year, and the guy who runs that said that the PFF draft board was actually highest on Brock Purdy of any media draft board. And I will tell you right now, I did not see this coming whatsoever. I think he was like 140 on the PFF draft board. And I will hand to God that I didn't think he'd ever even be a starter in the NFL. I just thought he was a cool backup. I thought he was a guy that did a lot of the things well that you needed to do to succeed in the NFL, whether it was pocket presence, whether it was being able to be mobile, being able to make plays outside of structure, and to be accurate. I did not think he would be, leading the NFL in passer rating since he took over. Now, obviously, some of that's the talent around him, some of that's the offense, but he is really a perfect fit for that offense. It's an offense that doesn't ask quarterbacks to throw the ball 40-plus yards down the football field to be successful. It's an offense that just asks you to hit the guy that's open every single time. And Purdy, well, he's just been doing that.
It's it's been amazing to see a guy that, like you said, nobody thought was even going to become a starter. He was just more of a roster spot filler to all of a sudden find himself in the divisional round of the playoffs facing off against Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. So I completely agree with you. Give me your thoughts on this weekend. We finally see Trevor Lawrence begin to emerge under the tutelage of Doug Peterson. Do they have a legitimate shot at knocking off Kansas City in the way Trevor Lawrence is playing right now?
I think they do. I think they have a little bit more of a shot than they've been given credit for. You just go to last week's game. They can score. I think the biggest thing that they have right now that you need to have to beat the Chiefs is basically they can score when the defense knows you're going to pass. Like they've done that, or Trevor Lawrence has done that repeatedly over the second half of the season. That's kind of been why everyone's saying he's broken out, he's arrived, because in those gotta-have-it situations, he's been tremendous. And that's what kind of separates the elite quarterback from the Kirk Cousinses of the world. So I do think we've seen that with Trevor Lawrence. And when you have that guy, you're not really out of any game. And now, while I think the Chiefs are still the better side, it's like close. The Jags have a good defense. The Jags are capable of getting after Patrick Mahomes in this one. So I'm not counting them out. I think that 8.5-point spread is a little too much for me.
I looked at what Daniel Jones did against that defense up in Minnesota, and he was able to run and pick up 70-plus yards in a series, and he was just all over the place. But you can't do that against his Eagles team. And I think this is where the Giants run. And as much as I like Dable as a head coach, and he's just a good guy, so to speak, I think this is where their run ends. Are the Eagles all that? Are they the most well-rounded team right now left in the postseason?
They are. I think Jalen Hurts' shoulder, Shane Johnson injury, that's worrisome to me. But I think you hit the nail on the head about their defense. It's just you can't do what you did to the Vikings. You're not going to get a bunch of busted coverages. You're not going to get a ton of free big plays on crossing routes against the Eagles. They're too sound, across the board. They just play good team defense and have too much talent. So you're going to have to at some point have the talent to win one-on-ones, and Giants just don't.
I go back to the Bengals and the Bills, January 2nd, that Monday night. Obviously, a devastating game. They did the right thing in canceling it, but Cincinnati felt that they had a really good game plan. But they've also lost some offensive linemen. I don't think watching, Joe Burrow under siege is here we go again. It's almost deja vu from what we witnessed last year. Do they have any way to overcome that lack of an offensive line to protect him and to get Jamar Chase downfield against his Bills defense?
I mean, when you have Joe Burrow, you have a way. We saw it last year, so I'm not going to count him out. But, man, it's bad. It's bad considering the opponent, too. This Bills defensive line, even without Von Miller, is still probably top 5 D-line in the NFL. So I'm worried. Yeah, I'm worried. They look human against the Baltimore Ravens last week because of that. And if no Jonah Williams, Jack Harmon's he's a liability. There's no sugarcoating it. So, yeah, I do think the Bills, really, if they don't win this game, they only have themselves to blame.
Then I want to go back to Dak and the fact that he played so incredibly well, but really against a bad Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, an aging Tom Brady, an offense that was inept, and they just almost had their way with him, even with a bad kicker. So give me your thoughts. Just which Dak Prescott shows up? The Dak that we saw in the last 4 or 5 games down the stretch in that awful game at the end of the year, or the Dak that we saw against Tampa Bay this past week?
I wish I could tell you, but truthfully, against the 49ers defense, I think I lean more towards the former, the guy that struggled, just because they don't give you anything easy. This is talked about the Eagles defense being maybe the most complete. I think the 49ers has the most high-end talent of guys that are just going to make your life difficult, whether it's Fred Warner at linebacker, whether it's Nick Bosa at defensive end, or whether it's even Charvarius Ward playing at a super high level, or Talanoa Hufanga, who made first-team All-Pro this year at safety. So, yeah, the 49ers defense is a different animal. I think you're not going to see the same success. To win this game for the Cowboys, you're really going to have to do it on the other side, and it's stopping Brock Purdy.
I got to ask you, when you guys are sitting around the PFF offices and having a Zoom calls and everybody's meeting and kind of chit-chatting, is Rodgers as much of a topic in the walls of a company that focuses on pro football versus outside the walls of all the gossip of the fans?
Well, we kind of just laugh at it, right? Because it's such a soap opera at this point. And it's like, he said, he was never going to be far, but he's turned into the exact same thing, which is hilarious to see. But we try to focus on the field. So we kind of, those things, we don't spend our time debating them. We just laugh at them.
So tell me real quick before I let you go, you talked about the diminishment of play, but what did you see in Green Bay this year, specifically offensively, that led them down this path where they couldn't even make the postseason?
It's a number of things. I do think Rodgers has declined a touch. Not necessarily a ton, but he's not the same guy that was carrying you. And the other thing was just the offense still needed guys to get open on a consistent basis. It still asked guys to go one-on-one because it kind of didn't adjust for the loss of Devontae Adams. It was still in those situations they weren't scheming guys open because last year they didn't have to. They could just, when it was one-on-ones across the board, you go to Devontae. So they didn't have that this year. And so when you got one-on-ones across the board, that was when they struggled. And you saw that against the Lions both times they played. The Lions weren't afraid to press these guys, weren't afraid to let their DBs go one-on-one. And I think when those were the case, they lost more than they won.
Great stuff, Mike. I appreciate it as always. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk again real soon, okay?
For sure, Bill. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon. Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus, at Mike, or at PFF_Mike, at PFF_Mike. That's what I was saying. For as much crap as I took a couple of weeks ago when I said they don't have a downfield threat, he said the same thing. They don't have a downfield threat. They were asking guys to go one-on-one. They couldn't get open. Even with Christian Watson and having that little bit of a threat, people crucified me for saying that. And it's like, wait a minute. Their downfield threat consistency was awful this year. So Kevin Harlan said the same thing yesterday. Nobody feared it. There was no downfield threat. Nobody feared it. It's got to be consistent. It's got to work. Otherwise, just throwing downfield because a guy's open and you're missing him or he's dropping passes, that's not a threat. Could it be? Of course it could be. You got to account for it. But not like you did when you had Devontae, not like you did when you had Jordy, not like when you were floating safety side to side or double corners and, running a nickel with two. No, you just weren't accounting for that. So it's good stuff from Mike Renner and the guys at Pro Football Focus. Certainly appreciate it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up if you want to go ahead and do so. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Dwayne's, DUANES, Dwayne's, CoverItAll.com. And he's such a good guy. He is Wisconsin's best. And I say this from both experience and just listening to people talk. But he is Wisconsin's best canvas boat cover provider. If you've got office furniture you want recovered, a piece of furniture in your home you want redone, gym equipment you want recovered, there is nobody better. There is nobody better. There's a big company down in Chicago that saved, I think, tens of thousands of dollars by having all their office chairs redone and kind of recovered and such by Dwayne, rather than having them all tossed and then buy more. And they just kept them coming. So he's got stuff all over the state and outside of the state now. So get a hold of Dwayne. And if you've ever looked at his work when it comes to boats, boat covers, canopies, things like that, awnings for your home, all that stuff, go to Dwayne's, DUANES, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. That is Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. See for yourself what he does. And you can, kind of gauge it over on Facebook as well. If you want to give him a call direct, 715-870-2119, 715-870-2119. That's Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
When is your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry! To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Listen to the show every day. They go to the Quick Trip right here in Waukesha by the Waukesha County Airport. And when I stopped in, that type of thing, and I was talking to them. They work construction, and they were in there just picking up some breakfast sandwiches. And he held it up And he looked at me and he said, "You're free." Yeah, ice. You have it in the Quick Trip, whether it's going in for the milk or the bread, which is on sale. You've got the egg, which right now you don't have to mortgage your house to pick up eggs at Quick Trip. Bananas, whatever it happens to be, you can go to Beer Cave or, like they did, breakfast sandwiches. And if you build up enough points, you can earn yourself some freebies. And that's exactly what they did. Stop into our friends at Quick Trip. Keep using that Quick Rewards card. If you don't have one, get one. You're just throwing money down the table tonight if you don't have one. And all you got to do is type in your phone number at the pump or anywhere else for that matter, and you're good to go. Check out our friends from Quick Trip. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free, go ahead and give us a shout because I'd love to have you. 877-867-1670. Back to the phone calls. Jim listening to us down in Lake Geneva. Jim, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Doing good, Bill. How are you? Never mind. I know how you're doing. Anyway, well, I hear everybody say that. Like, you've been listening to the show or not,
Yeah.
But what I have to say, the Packers, okay, the defense was supposed to be dead, it's on the nuts. It's going to beat everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't, I don't see them using the players. They didn't use them right. I mean, every player has a different ability. The coach has got to figure out what they can do the best and use them in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of calling a play where your defensive backs are 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, maybe they're better off, maybe 5 yards or maybe 3 yards and doing a little stop and go type thing. And, they're not calling plays the way they should be called. Offensively, yeah, both of them need help on line, but, come on. You got to make adjustments, use the players the way the players can play the best. You get a job and the boss says, I need you to do it this way. And you look at them and go, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, then you're not going to have that job very long.
Mm-hmm.
If they get a job and they say, well, you got to do it this way, this way, this way, and they say they can't, well, then why are they there?
Right.
The coaches have to deal with that. And it doesn't seem like they dealt with that this year.
I said, I understand where you're going. I appreciate the phone call. I said it seemed like, now again, perception becoming reality in many people's minds. The outward appearance was Matt LaFleur was soft. Matt LaFleur did not have full control. It was you heard a lot of contradiction in what Matt LaFleur would say and players would say, or Aaron Rodgers would say. And usually you hear the same message. You go into a locker room, Matt LaFleur will give his discussion, his speech, whatever you want to call it. This is what we're going to do. This is the way we're going to play. This is what we're going to be. This is what we're looking forward to. This is the way we're going to work. This is what's going on. This is what we're going to concentrate on. And players parrot that. You didn't hear a lot of that this year, or at times you heard glaring differences. So that's always kind of the red flag, because sometimes you'll hear coaches say, you know what, we've got to work a little bit harder on our penalties. We've got to make sure that we play a clean game. We got to work hard. We got to be more physical, in the trenches, blah, blah. And then you go to a player and say, hey, what do you guys need to do? And he'll say, we got to work on those penalties. We got to be more physical in the trenches. That's going to be our goal this week is just to concentrate in those. And the players will parrot that. And there were times this year you didn't hear that. This is a business trip. We're going over to London. We're gonna make sure that our heads are in this. It's not a trip. If you want to come over and visit it later on in your career or in the offseason, go ahead. But this is a business trip. And then you got guys, Rodgers included, saying, "I can't wait to go to the pub. I can't wait to mix with the mingles. I get with the people. I can't wait to see this or that." And it was like, whoa! It was two drastically different messages. And we heard that. That's the one that sticks out in my mind the most. But we heard that a couple of times this year. We can't do this. We got to be this. And then Rodgers comes out with simplify. Other players talk about what is simplification. Well, play needs to come in and be called quickly because we're getting out of the huddle too late. Rodgers says, I have to simplify things for the guys. LaFleur says, I don't know what that means. It was just, there was a jumble there. So it just sounded like things just weren't on the same page. And I think, number one priority in the offseason is we're going to be on the same page. If I'm Matt LaFleur, we're going to be on the same page. We gotta move the needle in the right direction. And this is my team. And I'm not going down by everybody else making decisions for me or going rogue. I'm taking my team back. I think that's first and foremost. You can't do it in a forceful way, but you got to do it bit by bit. You know, the way you lose things, the way things erode, then you got to get them back bit by bit. You can't just come back and go, I'm taking it back. To hell with you. You know, you can't do that. Because you don't want to repel guys. You want to say, oh, okay. You know, I didn't know that. Let's move in that direction. Okay. And then bit by bit, you grab it back. Because if you try to do it all at once, it just doesn't work that way. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. John says if the Packers don't believe in Love, they should trade him. Keep Rodgers. I don't think it's a matter of they don't believe in him. It's a matter of they don't have to do anything just yet. Sometimes you don't do anything if you don't have to do anything. It's not like he's coming off of his third year where he had, 17 starts and won 9 of them, looked really good, and you've got a decision to make. They don't have to. He had 2 series against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's it. He had 1 game last year against Kansas City and a half against Detroit, neither of which were anything to write home about. So in a game and a half and a couple of series, he played 2 series well. So you don't have any leverage if you're Jordan Love, other than the fact that you can say you traded up to get me. Why aren't you using me? And I'm sure his agents are calling Brian Gutekunst going, what the hell's going on? We want our guy to get opportunities. We want our guys to get paid. We want our guy to be used. And Gutekunst is going, welcome to the NFL. If there's an opportunity and it's the right one for us, we'll make a deal. If there's not, he's going to be the backup to Aaron Rodgers, period. And you have to understand that when we drafted him. We didn't know Rodgers was going to get good and win back-to-back MVPs and look great and go to the postseason and such. We didn't understand that. So we do now. We know where he's at. We're not kicking a Hall of Famer to the curb because we've got the what ifs in Jordan Love, and we'll have another year to kind of, lay our heads down at night and think about it. But right now we don't have to do a damn thing. We don't have to do a damn thing. 877-867-1670. Find us again if you want to give us a shot. A couple of things here. This one is from Jason said, let's see here. In terms of Matt LaFleur, I don't think he suddenly became uncreative. All of those good things you said he did the first year or two, the motion and et cetera, it looked like the Shanahan-McVay offense. It seems like Aaron Rodgers doesn't like the motion and things of that nature. So whatever Aaron Rodgers wants, he gets. By the way, Jake says for sure keep Crosby another year. His accuracy is spot on. Pierce says don't forget Nathaniel Hackett leaving was also a huge reason the offense took a step backwards. So a lot to kind of nosh on there. 877-867-1670. Find us. Let's get back to the phone calls real quick. Let's go to our buddy Tim in Sparta. Tim, how you doing, man? What's up?
I am better than I deserve, Bill.
Good, man.
These people who think that Rodgers isn't coming back, I don't understand it. He's not walking away from $60 million. They're not trading him because if they try to trade him for something this year, they're not going to get anything. You said that over and over today and on previous days. And if he retires, well, they have an enormous cap hit that's going to kill them and make them, look like the 80s version of the Packers again, which was horrible because they won't be able to afford anybody for the year after. He's coming back. He still has things that he wants to prove. He knows that he needs to be considered in that upper echelon forever. He's got to come back and win another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He just has to.
Right.
Now, whether it's with us or somebody else, I don't know. But you're absolutely spot on. You're right. They're not trading him if they're trading him until after the 1st of June, and then what are you going to get?
Right.
It's just insane. So he's coming back. He's not leaving the money on the table. Just leave the speculation and let it ride. I mean, I have Rodgers fatigue. He has become what he said he never wanted to be, which was Brett Favre light.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, completely agree. 100%. And that's exactly what they were saying. This
coming back.
And coming back when I went in. Got it.
All right, cut that part out.
He's coming back. He's going to play for Green Bay. This season, you're pushing your chips to the middle of the table the best you can. You leave a little bit of money in the pocket in case you need to spend it. But again, this year, you do everything you can to accentuate areas that are your weakness, period. And that's what the Packers are going to do. That's what Brian Gutekunst is going to do. That's what he's been entrusted to do. And you're going to try to run it back. And like I said, if I'm Goody, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm sure that he had a conversation with Aaron saying, hey, Aaron, when you make some decisions, let us know. But if I'm Goody, I said, hey, look, go do your thing. Give me your schedule, and let's kind of compare notes. And I'm going to come and see you. I want to come out and see you. I want to come out and hang out for a day. And, you got the giant, pink elephant in the room. So you fly out, I don't know, in a month, whatever, right after Super Bowl, whatever. And you fly out and you say, hey, how you feeling? Body good? Thumb good? Okay. And then you kind of lean forward, elbows on your knees, and you're like, look, season wasn't great. It wasn't what we wanted. Mark really wants to end his career on a high note. We know we want to end your career on a high note. You feel good. You feel like I heard what you said on McAfee about winning another MVP. Like you want to play for a championship. That's what we want. Okay. So here's my plan. Blah, 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 blah. My plan is this, and this. We're going to keep Bach. We're going to do everything we can to keep Aaron Jones. This and this and this. We might have this guy be a casualty, but we're going to bolster this. We're going to look at this in draft. So we've got a little bit of time before the draft. What I want you to do, if you're coming back, you got to be all in. I want you to come into Green Bay. I want you to look at some film. I can send you some stuff too. I'm happy to do that. And give me your thoughts, whether it's wide receivers, offensive linemen, what have you. I want you to take a look at tight end too. We have not made a decision on Big Dog and Robert, although Robert's there anyway, but we've got some decisions to make, but we want to upgrade the position. It's not about keeping friends and all that kind of stuff. I know there's guys you want to retire with, but we want to win a championship. Sometimes those two things don't go hand in hand. We know that. So we need to make a move. So are you all in? Yes. Okay. This is what I expect for the $60 million. I expect you to be there. You look at it this way. The end of your career is coming, whether it's in a year or 2 or 5. Be all in. I want you there. I want you there for the voluntaries. I want you there for the mini camps. I want you there for all that stuff. I know it's not mandatory, but you're the leader of this team. You're the guy that everybody looks to. You're the guy that everybody's watching on McAfee, wanting to know, are you or are you not coming back? What's going on? You're the guy that everybody's tracking. You're the guy. You're the guy. And you're the guy. So come back and be the leader. That's what I expect for the money we're paying you. This is what I expect for everybody to be on board, and we're all in. And I'll support everything you do, but we need you to be all in. And see what he says. If he hems and haws and whatever, say, you know what? It's been great hanging out with you. It really has. I appreciate it. Here, I'll take care of dinner. Thank you very much. You will not be a Green Bay Packer. We will be trading you on June 1st. We'll go ahead and start the rebuild now. Because if you can't commit to everything we just gave you, and we've basically kissed your ass and gave you all the money, this whole thing about a mutual feeling to be able to come back, it's garbage. And we'll move on. But like I said all along, he's coming back. It's whether or not he comes back fully in or he comes back being Aaron Rodgers. That's the difference. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. If you are looking for some good entertainment, maybe you're Irish, or maybe you're not. Who cares? If you're looking for a good venue and some good concerts coming up, or maybe a place to hold a meeting, how about a wedding reception in a very stoic, beautiful old hall? The inside of an older church, an Irish church, the Irish Cultural Heritage Center, a premier venue in downtown Milwaukee for Irish activities, concerts, cultural events, and so much more. And even if you're not Irish, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My household was Irish on one side, German on the other. And then when I was adopted, I'm Italian. So we had a whole mix. We do anything for something like this. The building can host almost anything from weddings and receptions, corporate meetings. That is the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. It's on Wisconsin Avenue in Milwaukee, but all you got to do is give them a call. Just give them a buzz. Give our buddy Corey Webster, by the way, runs this place. Corey's such a great guy, and it's a nonprofit, so it's not like they're looking to make thousands of dollars. I'm telling you, if you've got a wedding coming up and you're tight on cash and you want a beautiful place, this is it. Hint, hint. You got to take a look. 414-345-8800. 414-345-8800. But if you're looking for some concerts to go to, Shane Hennessy is coming Saturday, February 11th. And then on Friday, February 17th, the Drowsy Lads are going to be there. And then Sunday, February 26th is Casey and Maggie. And they have really good shows coming up. The events are fantastic. So, and a brand new website, go to ICHC.net. That is ICHC.net. And you can see it for yourself. Otherwise, just call Corey 414-345-8800. 414-345-8800. Again, 414-345-8800. That's ICHC.net. Good stuff. All right. Andrew Brandt is going to join us coming up about an hour and 15 minutes from now. We're going to talk about the future of the Green Bay Packers over there. Until then, it is time to make some picks. Ben, Kenny, and I. Ben, so we're going to the tote board. What does it look like?
You opened a 1-game lead last weekend. A surprising above 500 performance. You were 2-1. Excellent. I sat 1-2. I'm 28-27-2 overall, just a bit above 500. You are 29-26-2.
There you go. Which game was the surprising win?
The ones you won.
But I've been above 500 pretty much all season long, right?
Yeah, and it's been surprising.
There you go. Thank you very much. It's like I do know something. How about that, huh?
So we have 4 games this weekend. I figure we just do all of them.
Okay, let's do that.
Instead of picking 3.
Let's do that.
So,
okay.
You want to lead it off?
Let's lead it off. I'll do this. So Kansas City, 8.5-point favorites over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville coming in with a head of steam. I like what they're doing, sitting at 9-8. Finishing the season, the Chiefs, we all know, 14-3, and they're a dominant powerhouse. They're playing at Arrowhead, which is a very tough place to play. The Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence combination has been nothing but fantastic. But this is where they run into the juggernaut that is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. I'm taking the Chiefs to win, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to win going away. Last week was, as you said last night, Ben. Last week, I think they used up their magic. They're not going to beat the Chiefs. But I think they keep it close enough to where they at least cover the spread. I'm taking the Jaguars in the 8.5.
I am as well. I just think they have enough magic to make it a game. And last year, remember, this weekend had some of the best games ever. The big thing here is Jerick McKinnon on the Chiefs, the running back, has been on a tear receiving touchdown-wise and receiving the football. Mm-hmm. When Jacksonville played Kansas City, he tore up Devin Lloyd, their inside linebacker, the kid from Utah that they drafted this year. So I think they'll go back to that a lot. It's been a big part of their offense. I think the Chiefs just posed too big of a challenge for Jacksonville to win it on the road. But, yeah, I'll take the Jags plus 8.5.
Then coming up on Saturday night, the Eagles are hosting the Giants. Eagles with a rested team, and I think by far the most complete team in the National Football League. Jalen Hurts is the biggest question at this point. 22 touchdowns on the season, 3,701 yards, but able to run the ball all over the place. He's not going to change anything in his game one iota because, as everybody has said, there is no tomorrow. You lose this one, who cares what you're saving yourself for? So I think he does his thing and gets back to being, Jalen Hurts. The Giants, they didn't, short of Daniel Jones being able to run the football, it wasn't like they were wailing it all over the field, moving up and down the field. I think the Eagles win. I said last night I thought the Giants would cover, but the more I thought about this, I thought, as scrappy as the Giants are, I just don't think they have enough, especially on Saturday night at the link. Philadelphia, 7.5-point favorites. I'll take Philly, even though they're giving the points.
That's a damn shame. I agree. The Giants just aren't good. I mean, come on. They're an average in the games, but in terms of quality, they were average. The Giants are one of the worst teams in football against the run. The Eagles are the best team in football when healthy, running the ball. They did it when they went to New York early this season. It could be scrappy. I don't really care. I don't see how the Giants keep it close.
Then we go to Sunday, the early game, the rematch of the game that did not take place, Cincinnati and Buffalo. It will be an emotional day. I saw Damar Hamlin had met with the governor. Now, I don't know if the governor had come to meet with him or he went to meet with the governor, but that was just posted not that long ago. I wonder if he is actually going to make an appearance. He's been at the facility, apparently. I wonder if he's going to make an appearance at the game. I think Bills fans are going to be out of their damn mind for this one. The Bengals, they said they're not really going to change much of their game plan. They felt they had a good game plan in place, and they just cut like a hot knife through butter early on against the Buffalo Bills and got the lead before Damar Hamlin went down, and that game was ultimately canceled. But Buffalo, 5.5-point favorites. What I keep thinking of is Joe Burrow doesn't have time to get the ball to Jamar Chase. For the weapons they have, it doesn't matter. And their defense was on the field far too much in that game against Baltimore. Josh Allen can run, but he can also throw. If Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over, the Bengals are going to get blown out. I'm going to take Buffalo, even though they're given 5.5. Cincinnati's not going to cover that because their offensive line sucks so bad. I'm going to take Buffalo to win big at home.
I had the Bills written down because you have selected them. I will take the Bengals, your Cincinnati Bengals.
It pains
me
to say, too, because I'm hoping for all my friends that, Cincinnati wins, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's where it comes to an end.
Yeah, I'll believe in them. 5.5's a lot. I'll take Cincinnati.
Then you've got to the 49ers, favored by 4 against the Cowboys, Brock Purdy. And this is where you and I might differ because, I know you had said that, Dak last week just motored over Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay doesn't have much of a defense, but yet this is where the magic comes off of Brock Purdy in the moment. I'm saying no. I'm taking San Francisco. Give the Cowboys 6. Give the Cowboys 6. That's fine. This is where the Cowboys come to an end. I'm taking the 49ers and Brock Purdy. I'll buy a Brock Purdy jersey after this if he wins this game. Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Given the 4, I'll take the 49ers.
Oh, put Jordan Love in that offense, and he could become the greatest thing of all time. Like Brock Purdy throws a 4-yard out to Deebo Samuel. He turns it into an 80-yard touchdown. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, look, Brock Purdy, 80-yard touchdown pass.
Right.
Like it's all the other guys.
Well, everybody does that, though.
Yeah.
Not every quarterback
especially
gets credit for
him.
that.
Especially him. I want the Cowboys to win. I think it's going to be close. I think they have enough explosiveness-wise to keep it close. And I think Purdy makes mistakes. I do think the Niners win, but I want the Cowboys too. But I'll take the Cowboys.
So I took all the home teams, but I took the Jaguars to cover in game 1. All the home teams we believe are going to win, but we've got everything else pretty close. So there you go. That's our picks. That was a fantastic way to go. See if it continues to hold out. I can't wait for Super Bowl week. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick break. Come back. We got a lot more to get to. Hang in there. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Any season is grilling season, and you can get your favorite cuts delivered right to your doorstep. Go to ScholzieFamilyBeef.com. That's ScholzieFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers defensive backs coach Jerry Gray is reportedly on the list of candidates for defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. Head coach Arthur Smith and Gray work together at the Tennessee Titans. The Falcons also intend to interview Vic Fangio, who currently has been a defensive consultant for the Eagles. Aaron Rodgers said on the McAfee show he still thinks he could win another MVP award.
Do I still think I can play? Of course. Can I play at a high level? Yeah. The highest. I think I can win MVP again. The right situation. Right situation, is that Green Bay or is that somewhere else? I'm not sure.
Former tight end and 4-time Super Bowl winner Rob Gronkowski had this to say on Up and Adams.
I'm totally fine with everything he said, except one major part. That's the MVP again. It's just that I think I could win another Super Bowl. Like, bro, like, why are you thinking MVP? Like, don't you want Super Bowls? Like, Super Bowls are 5 times greater than an MVP award.
Divisional playoffs this weekend. The 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys, 5:30 Sunday night. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy on being a 3.5-point favorite over Dallas.
You know, we look at it as a challenge, but we're also excited because it's like, man, if we do play to our full potential, it's like, what else can we do? So those are the kind of things that we ask ourselves every day and we're excited about, but I'm excited moving forward for, being on a win streak.
How has Purdy gone from the last player selected in the draft to 6-0 so far as a rookie quarterback? Linebacker Dre Greenlaw.
When all is stacked against him, you missed the irrelevant, everything that's, and to come out and still be who you are and play football the way that he plays, man, it's just a testament to him.
As 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Again, Pindel.com, Pindel.com. Coming up in about 3 minutes, we're going to talk with Andrew Brandt. We're going to talk with him about the business of sports, the Packers, and such. We'll get into that discussion for a short period of time. So we have that. We'll talk a little Brewers baseball coming up here at the bottom of the next hour, so stay tuned for that. I do want to get into that. We can mention some hoops as well. The comparison of quarterback songs. There is the new song that came out regarding Trevor Lawrence, I should say, with him at the Waffle House. And then there is the Jackpot Joey song for Joe Burrow. So we've got a myriad of quarterback songs that are starting to come out. Has there ever been a song written about Aaron Rodgers? I don't know if there ever has been. Going back to his younger days, I don't know if there was ever an Aaron Rodgers song that was written? If there was, let me know.
There's some jokes that can be made there, but I'm not going to make them.
Coming up next, Andrew Brandt, the business of sports. We're going to talk with him and get his thoughts on everything that is going on in Green Bay. Stay tuned. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Another hour yet to go. Coming up right after this. Welcome back to the program. Final hour, fourth hour of the program. Good to have you on board today. A lot going on. Always appreciate you being here, whether it's listening to us on the vast and growing network or the social side, watching the show and such. We certainly appreciate you being here. Thanks so much, as always, joining us now from the business of sports. And you can get his newsletter and such sent to you all the time. It's at Andrew Brandt on Twitter. Andrew Brandt is now joining us here. Andrew, how you been?
Bill, always a pleasure. I always seem to talk to you right after the season about what's next for the Packers.
Yeah, it's listen, I'm just going to ask a general question. Sit there and to Aaron and a guy that's been in the front office, and you're sitting in your office and they're saying, "Hey, Aaron's on McAfee. Let's take a listen." And give me your reaction.
Well, I was in that position obviously 15 years ago or longer, where Brett used to come on media and talk about his future, and he was always kind of yes, no, maybe. So it's, again, this whole deja vu continues. The deja vu of picking a quarterback first 15 years later to the day when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback already on the roster. The deja vu of Jordan Love, exactly like Aaron Rodgers, sitting for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now we wait and see it's going to be a fourth year or he's going to play like Aaron did in his fourth year. But I think, the Packers know Aaron as well as anyone. There's nothing that he's saying that's surprising them. And, I would love to be a fly on the wall for the meetings that he had after the Lions game that he talked about, meeting with them. So, Aaron's a pretty upfront guy. He doesn't beat around the bush too much. So I would think in those meetings, he asked, what's the plan? Because it takes two to tango. Mm-hmm. And I know you're going to ask me about the money and the contract and all that, but the bottom line beyond the money, the contract, the dead money, will they trade? It's, do they want him?
Right.
Do they want him to be their quarterback in 2023? And do they want to tell Jordan Love, wait another year? So I think that's the ultimate question. I know Gutekunst talked and he was a little bit wishy-washy. You never really get the full answer.
What is the phone ringing with Jordan's agent saying what's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I would think he's been ringing for 3 years. Like, just to know, is he going to play in 2022? Well, that was a no. Is he going to play in 2023? That's a great question. It's always, to me, like, people focus on the Aaron question, but there's the Love question. The Packers don't ever seem to me like a team that would give up on a first-round pick without seeing real play.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are saying just commit to Aaron and trade Love. I don't see that. That doesn't mean I see definitely going to Love. But the alternate solution is asking Love to stick around another year as a backup. That's a tough one for an agent and a player. That's a tough one.
Yeah, but at this point in time, he really doesn't have much to say as far as demanding a trade or anything, right?
No, he'll be coming up on his fourth year. They have to make a decision on the option year, which I would think they would do. They guarantee him a fifth year. They have to make that decision by May. But, that seems like a no-brainer because even if Aaron does play, that they got him 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is new territory. Aaron sat for 3 years. No one in the history of first-round picks in the modern era has sat that long. And now Jordan has done the same thing.
Did Brett ever make demands of, you got to bring this guy back, I want this, and this? Or did Brett just say, I don't know if I want to come back and I'll let you know?
I don't think we ever had discussions about re-signing other players when he was considering. I mean, the one thing Brett did talk about when there were sort of veterans on the market, what about him? What about him? No demands.
Mm-hmm.
When T.O. was on the market or Randy was on the market, just kind of inquiring. But, we had a system in place. We were bringing along guys like Donald Driver and Greg Jennings and James Jones and Jordy Nelson. So that's kind of where we were on that. And again, nothing contentious with that. It was just that's more what he was asking about.
Now, I know I know Russ Ball is tasked with an unenviable task with trying to get all this money to make it work. But you got some guys that are kicking money down the road. And I guess the question I would ask before I let you go is, do you look at Aaron and say, you still got it? I believe we still have a pretty good team with a couple of pieces we have to add. Do you start to really begin the shuffling of money to be able to make all of this work, bring in the guys that he wants and maybe a couple of guys that are veterans that can help your team? Or do you say, we're going to do this through the draft and it is what it is because we put enough money down the road? I mean, what would that mentality inside the walls of 1265 be, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good one. And actually, I got a couple more minutes, so you can ask another question. Okay. But on this one, listen, you know me, Bill. I did a different kind of cap management back in the day, and you can criticize it. I just felt like you had to protect the future, especially with a young quarterback coming at some point. You want to have a really good team around him. This has been a different Packer cap management strategy over the last 2 years. I mean, which continued all the way up till the past 2 years, which is, again, more pay-as-you-go strategy, and now it's changed. And I think it's changed because of Aaron, because you have this once-in-a-lifetime player who's at the peak of his game, who just came off 1 and then 2 MVPs. So there's a lot of money pushed out. And whether those guys are back or not, they have cap problems. So the only way to get out of cap problems is to push out more money and create more cap problems in the future, which is, again, what I try to avoid, and I'm not patting myself on the back, just different strategies. So that's what they've been, and they're in this window. And then we have to figure out Aaron's $60 million. That is a guaranteed number. Now that number could go to another team, and then they're off the hook for that. But then there's a big dead money charge. So there's a lot of questions to go through this. And Russ, like I did at this time of year, is going through all the scenarios with Aaron, without Aaron, Aaron trade, Aaron retirement, etc.
So real quick before, and without getting into all the details, because this is an unbelievably complicated contract that Aaron has. And even some people that I've talked to, like yourself, that said, boy, this has got a lot of nuances to it. But knowing that you have him for 2 years, knowing what the contract is, knowing this is it, this is your last hurrah, short of him saying, I want another contract, and then you go through all this all over again. What would you recommend doing?
I would look at our people and say, are we prepared to take on a $40 million dead money charge, which would be the largest in the history of the sport, tying it with the Falcons this year with Matt Ryan? Because if we do that, then you're playing with it less than a full deck. You know, if the cap's 220, you're playing at 180 to start before everything else. And you won't have Aaron. And there are 2 ways that happens. He retires or he's traded. And if somehow you can push the trade to June 1, which I think is going to be really hard, I don't know how they do that, then it's, $15 million this year and $25 million in 2024. But that's not an appetizing cap option.
Right.
It's not appetizing with Aaron, but you have Aaron. So, this is what they're faced with. I don't know what's going on with all the other veterans that Aaron talked about. That's a different issue. But clearly the Packers are bringing along young people at different positions, whether it's the receivers or Zach Tom or these linebackers. I mean, defensive line. They're looking at young players being a future core of their team. And we'll just have to see. I guess I'm back to where I started. I'd like to get Gutekunst and the brass in a hot light and say, we know he's great, but do you want him back? Yeah. Do you want him back? And I know his answer was, we want everyone back, but do you really want him back? What's the plan? And I think we've asked this a couple of years now, and I'm not sure it's the same answer as it has been.
Andrew, it's always great. Are you going to be out in Arizona?
To be determined.
Okay. Well, if you are, look us up over on Radio Row. We'd love to have you again, and we'll talk more about Lamar Jackson and Burrow and Chase and everybody else that's actually coming up. So we'll talk then, okay?
Yeah, people are tweeting. I have the newsletter. You go to andrew-brandt.com. And then I started these reels where I talk about these things on Instagram. So Andrew Brandt 2 is my Instagram, so you can sort of see this stuff every day.
Yeah, I get it every Sunday morning. It pops up. You're the one that wakes me up every Sunday morning when my phone goes off to let me know that I got the mail. So thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it, bud.
Thanks, Bill.
Talk to you. There you go. Andrew Brandt. You can find his stuff. And his newsletters are awesome. They're awesome. They really are. If you're really looking into the business of football, and he discusses everything. And so if you want some really defining stuff, it's really, really good there. I had Jeff said, please explain what dead money is. Dead money is it's money that if the player, you let him go or you trade him, it's money you owe the player you have to pay that counts against the cap. So dead money is you are paying money for a player that is no longer playing for you. It's money that counts against your cap, but you're not, but you don't have the player. So it's like Andrew said, you got your choices. You look at it as you're going to pay a lot of money. You got a lot of money to pay out. So if you trade Aaron, you got a lot of money you're paying out and you don't have Aaron. You've moved on. You've started your future. You've gone to Jordan Love. If you pay the money and you keep Rodgers, at least you have Aaron. You're paying a player to be on your team rather than paying a player to not be on your team. So you look at a guy, like when they get rid of certain players, okay, certain things happen. Say they would want to, I don't know, say David Bakhtiari. Okay, David Bakhtiari, perfect example. Say this year they decided, you know what, Bach, you're a lot of money. The knee's been an issue. You had some troubles this year. Okay, David Bakhtiari, if they would get rid of him, decide to say, let's just move on from him. Okay, this year, he would be owed $23.131 million. Okay. But his salary this year, if he's on the team, is 28.7. So in essence, you're gaining about $6 million, even though $23 million will be dead cap money, which means you're paying it, but he's not there. He's not on your team. Now I'll say this, 2023, if they restructure his deal, if the Packers do a full void restructure of David Bakhtiari's contract going into this year, then again in 2024, for at least a year of his contract would be the 5 total contract backloads, according to Ken Ingalls. And he would be a free agent in 2025, and he would count against the cap of $24.3 million. So you're basically, again, as they say, kicking the can down the road. Like if you just wrote it out, okay, if you just wrote it out, and paid him the $28.7 million this year, and then after this year you cut him loose, you would still owe him $11.5 million in that signing bonus, in that guaranteed money. But you, in essence, would be gaining $20 million, $21 million, because he would be owed $32 million in salary in 2024. So you would then be putting, instead of having that already $32 million on your books, you would only have $11 million on your back. So you're still paying them, but you're actually gaining $20 million in salary cap. You see what I'm saying? So I
think so.
Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. Being a capologist is not easy. They gotta really, really, really know the ins and outs of everything from signing bonuses to workout bonuses to restructure bonuses, roster bonuses, base salaries that can be restructured, signing bonus that can be put into base salary and vice versa. And just all of that has to be adjusted. It's
so,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say there's all that with just the straight money part of it with Rodgers. What Andrew was also talking about also could play into not only making a decision on whether you think Rodgers can be that in the future, but making a decision on maybe LaFleur or Love, right?
Right.
Where when you're deciding to go forward, it might not only be about, okay, we're screwed with the money anyway, it might as well be Aaron. Could be the question of, do you want him back? Would Goody want to learn about Love and learn about LaFleur with them two together?
Exactly.
Like the non-money part of it.
Yep, exactly.
That's kind of what I'm hung up on when it comes to all this.
I completely agree. There's this whole thing. This gets complicated when, and teams that are going to have this problem, don't you? You're already seeing it in Baltimore. Now he's playing for more of a contract. He's not saying whether or not he wants to retire or not, but when you get a back, it is an absolute positive, and it is a nightmare because you got to pay the man. And then you got to worry about the diminishment of talent. Let's say you look at one of the older quarterbacks right now, Dak Prescott. Now, Jerry is going to pay Dak whatever they can do, and they'll kick that money down the road. Jerry doesn't care because he loves Dak. But eventually, you get the guy like, say, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, you're eventually going to have to make some decisions on, Josh Allen. We talked about, Lamar Jackson. We talked about Joe Burrow.
Hurts, even.
Jalen Hurts, you're going to have to pay. You're stuck now in salary cap jail with guaranteeing that contract out in Denver to Russell Wilson. That's another one. But you look at teams right now and you think, okay, Tampa Bay, depending on what Tom does, they're going to need a quarterback. New Orleans needs a quarterback. Carolina, Atlanta. I don't know how long the Geno Smith project is going to be in Seattle. Certainly with Stafford's contract, they've got issues out in LA. Kyler Murray, he got paid. Now you got to, if he doesn't live up to it, then what do? You got to worry about dead cap money. Houston, Indianapolis, Tennessee. Tannehill's good, but is he going to be really a guy that's going to get you over the hump and win you a title? You're going to have it in Minnesota again. Washington. You go through this whole New York. They had 3 quarterbacks this year. And you got to see if Tua is healthy, if Tua is even capable of coming back. All these teams are going to be looking at quarterback. I'm just trying to go through my head here of all these different teams and all these different divisions, but all these teams could be talking about quarterback situations and how much they're willing to take on, how much the quarterback's going to be paid, how much of a percentage does he take, and thus leaving a percentage to the rest of the team. It's got to be under 13%. At $220 million, 13% of that for the year is massive. So it's just in how they structure it. It's just whenever you get a good quarterback, it is a blessing, and you better win while they're under that rookie deal or maybe their second deal. But what really threw a real big giant monkey wrench in the gears of the machine was that dumb Deshaun Watson contract. I mean, absolutely spectacularly stupid to guarantee all that money. Really, Kirk Cousins started that in Minnesota some years back, of the $30 million a year, 3 years guaranteed at $90 million. That started it. But then Deshaun Watson getting what he did, because now it's only going to go up. Now, instead of getting $250 million at $100 million guaranteed, which would be a lot of money, now it's like, I want $250 million. I want $200 million guaranteed. And now teams are like, whoa, because that's what's going on in Baltimore. Does that, which kills me, because players are all like, you got to pay it. This is stupid. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I pay that. I would go, if he wants a Deshaun Watson contract, I'd say, that's fine. I'll go $250 million. But I'm only doing $170 million guaranteed at the most, because you're a running quarterback. Your accuracy is not great to begin with unless you're on the move. Your legs are what make you. And you've already proven in 2 years, you're going to miss 10 plus games. So why am I shelling out all this money when I'm going to really, 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 really need to build a defense and additional weapons around you, because it's most likely you're going to go down. And I have to have anybody come in and fortify this team at the quarterback position and be able to get it done with the players they have, because you're not going to be here. Whether it's in the beginning of the season, middle of the season, or end of the season, you're not going to be here. I got to continue to win without you. And that's something in the narrative. And he doesn't want to look at it that way. And all these other players are like, you just got to pay him. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying him. He's already proven he's not durable. Not happening. 877, and part of the problem is, Pac-Fan, you're right. He's his own agent. Lamar Jackson is his own agent, and he's taken to Twitter and social media to start arguing his case. And it's like, that's wrong. You don't do that either. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. They have got beautiful things going on up north at the Four Seasons Island Resort. And I made a mistake the other day, and I apologize. I was talking about the Muscano Island Chocolate Festival. That is coming. It's right around the corner. Looking forward to it. We are going up, by the way, going to spend some time up there at the end of February. That's coming up. Chocolate Festival is coming up. I think it's this month, as a matter of fact. It's this month, not January, or not February. But if you're looking for a new destination for a corporate meeting, a conference, a wedding, they're doing it all. And weddings are beautiful up there in the summertime. They just are. Call Barb, 715-938-5110. Say, Barb, we want to do this, and we want the Bill Michaels 15. How are we looking? And you'll get that. Take your sweetie there for a great Valentine's Day weekend. Romance packages. They have them on the website. You can check that out. Or like I said, the Chocolate Festival. They just had the Al Capone birthday weekend, which was pretty cool. Or go to Pine Mountain. And Pine Mountain has the ski hill and the ski jumps, and they're adding all kinds of stuff up there. Famous Sports Bar and Grill. They've got a big pool on the indoors. They got a lot of stuff there too. So either place, you want to go skiing, go to Pine Mountain. You want to go just run your, because right now they've got snow up there, and you can run your snowmobiles all over the joint. Oh, they got great snowmobiling up there, and you can park them and bring them in right there to the resort. So looking for a new destination, get a hold of our girl Barb right now. 715-938-5110. 715-938-5110. Get a hold of Barb, B-A-R-B, 715-938-5110. Either place, it's awesome. And make sure you ask for the Bill Michaels 15. It's fantastic. That's the Four Seasons Island Resort and Pine Mountain Resort. Sister resorts up there near the UP. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Those of you listening to us in the La Crosse area or maybe the surrounding areas, getting a hold of us. Dan says, loving Buzzard Billy's. Had the catfish. Never thought catfish was so good. Also, him and his wife actually went upstairs to the Starlight Lounge and said it was everything you had said it was. It looked like the 60s were going to fall out. I agree. Dan, you the man. Love some Buzzard Billies. Good stuff. Always liking Buzzard Billies. Hell yeah. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Andrew Brandt, who we just had on, brought up some good points. And he said he would love to be the fly on the wall when it came to Brian Gutekunst, the conversation with Aaron Rodgers. Now Brian Gutekunst's conversations with Mark Murphy, Matt LaFleur, Russ Ball. And remember, because he had, he was asked specifically, Aaron Rodgers, you want to bring him back and this and that. This is what Goody had to say.
Yeah, like I said in the bye week, I think I want all these guys back. That's part of that. He's certainly going to take some time. I think that's fair. And as we work through this, I think as he takes his time, kind of makes his decision just on his playing career in general, then we'll get together and move forward that way.
He didn't say well, we got to get Aaron back. I mean, Mike Clemens alluded to that last night because in years past, it was like, no, we want Aaron back. But what he did say, now for those that say, wait a minute, he didn't say Aaron specifically. Whoa, they don't want Aaron back. No, he had said, Aaron gives us the best chance to win. Aaron gives us the best chance to win. So I don't deny that. And I think realistically, sitting there right now in front of you, it does. Aaron does. I don't know. I don't know what Jordan Love can do. I know at some point they want to find out. But I think as of right now, you just kind of take it for what it is. And that is all the speculation is, and I get caught up in it. Look, I'm as bad as everybody else, so I apologize to you. But all the speculation, I think, is moot. Rodgers coming back. All the talk about, well, that's going to be interesting. Because Rodgers never he insinuated, didn't he? Ben, do you have that cut where he starts talking about all the guys he wants to retire with and it's going to be interesting and stuff? Can you play that for me?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay, because Rodgers, because I've got Rebecca said it, Richie said it, Gunslinger said it, that he, for him to demand that these players come back. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. He never demanded anything, right? He never said that I have to have these guys back or I'm not playing. There was that raising an eyebrow of, and I also agree with Andrew Brandt. Aaron's a pretty upfront guy. So is Goody. I think they talked about this. I really do. But this is when Aaron was asked, about and kind of talked about all these different players and what he wants and what he doesn't want. Take a listen to how he says this. Take a listen.
To work together moving forward. And I think there's, more conversations to be had. I think no player wants to be part of any type of rebuild. I said that years ago. Reloads are a lot of fun because you feel like you're close. You're only a couple guys away. This game is about relationships. It's about the players you play with and count on, even if they don't maybe show up huge in the stat book. A guy like Mercedes Lewis is an important cog in the wheel of the locker room and the momentum of the team. That's a guy I want to finish my career with, if I'm playing. I want that guy next to me, I want the Randall Cobbs of the world, if he wants to be playing, in my locker room. Guys you can win with. Alan Lazard, Bobby Tunyon, Dave Bakhtiari. There's a lot of interesting names that we'll see, their, desire to re-sign these certain guys who are glue guys in the locker room.
There's a desire to, and then he goes on to say that it's going to be an interesting conversation. But he never demands. He said, I want those guys in my locker room, but he never says, or I'm not coming back. He's never said that. So let's be clear on that. That's where I hate the fact that locker room, but semantics.
Your reaction to that is that's burned straight from where we played it initially.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah. No,
God. Here we go.
I know. Because I was like, oh, crap. This is okay. Everybody's got to come back. But that's the insinuation. Because he goes on to say, well, those will be interesting conversations, but he never demanded it. But, when he says to win with, that's where that's where I was like throwing the hand up going, whoa, wait a minute. All those guys were just there and you didn't win with them. Lazard, you didn't throw to. Tunyon, Mercedes is a good guy because he knows it. But you don't throw to those guys. Those guys aren't weapons. They're teachers, they're leaders, but they're not weapons. You need more weapons. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. We will address when we come back. I do want to mention a little bit of Brewers stuff too, so hang in there. And I don't know if we're going to get to it today, but there are two songs, one Trevor Lawrence, one Joe Burrow. Maybe we do it tomorrow, Ben, and make it the who has the best quarterback song. Maybe we'll put a poll question up. Not that it really matters wholeheartedly, but maybe just make it a goofy, fun Friday in that sense. We have Mike Clemens tomorrow. Anybody else? Who we have tomorrow? I know Clemens is here. Clemens is going to join us, but we'll figure it out.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I can tell you. We have Mark Schofield.
Oh, that's right. Mark's going to
after, because Wednesday was a crazy Rodgers day.
Wednesday was Rodgers day and Kevin Harlan day, and we bumped Mark, and so Mark's joining us tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that. So we got Mark Schofield. We have Mitch on tomorrow.
I believe so.
Mitch is going to do some betting in the morning. Mike Clemens to round things out, and the Jackpot Joey and Trevor Lawrence at the Waffle House songs to talk about. So there you go. God.
So bad.
There you go. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by The Nice Ash, downtown Waukesha. Love that place. Go to theniceash.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. theniceash.com. And terrific music. Boy, the blues group they had down there last week was just awesome. We will be down there on Saturday night. As a matter of fact, it's Ricky's birthday. So we're going to head down that way on Saturday. Stop by and say hi. So want to make sure if you're heading down that way, we'll see you down there on Saturday night for sure. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 2029. You heard that right. No interest up to the year 2029 if you book by January 31st. Pella's premium wood windows and patio doors feature distinguished craftsmanship and nearly endless possibilities, with maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Hurry. To get the 0% interest up to 2029, you have to book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Jackson and his end of the, I don't know if it was the end of the season press or what, but he said Lamar Jackson is our quarterback. And he is, quote, 200% chance that Lamar Jackson stays. That's doubling down on 100%. Yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it. You're not going to let him go. It's just a matter of what you're going to pay the man. I'm not high on giving him a fully guaranteed $250 million contract. Just not. Wouldn't do it. Lamar Jackson is good. He's just not great. He can run. Would you pay him? Would you give him Deshaun Watson money, Ben?
I would not give anybody except Patrick Mahomes Deshaun Watson money. But I would make sure that he is the quarterback of the Ravens if I were them. And eventually I'd find a middle ground. I don't know. The only person that could get Deshaun Watson money is somebody who wouldn't need the roster around them.
Right.
Like we talk all about Aaron Rodgers' situation, and someone brought this up. It's hard for him to be a $50 million quarterback when all we talk about is how much better it has to be around him.
Right. Lamar Jackson is 19th in quarterback rating and 26th in completion percentage. I'm not paying the man. He has never been a highly accurate quarterback. He is not Joe Burrow. He's not Justin Herbert. He's not even Matthew Stafford. He's not Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not Daniel Jones. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Not Matt Ryan. And then again, I will give him credit because when you look at his, what they've given him for weapons, it's the same argument that we have here, that you're always just trying to play catch up. Demarcus Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay. They had Sammy Watkins they had to pick up to put him on the roster. I'm not going in that direction. They had, some injuries and such, but they've got to give him better personnel. If you're going to commit to that guy, you got to pay the man, and you've got to have guys better than, Mark Andrews, not a bad pass catcher. They did pick up Charlie Kohler this past year, and Isaiah Likely is another one. But who's the other one? God, they got him from Jacksonville. Josh Oliver. They picked him up too, but he doesn't have, J.K. Dobbins is solid, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons to throw to. So I will give him a little bit of a pass there, but he's never been an overwhelmingly accurate quarterback. So I just, I wouldn't pay the guy. He's a runner. They design that offense to run the football from the quarterback position. And the fact that he gets hurt makes me say I'm not going to pay him. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to give him everything guaranteed. You got to get to a middle ground, but part of the problem is he's also his own agent, and that never works out well. But I wouldn't be doing that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I did want to make a mention of this because I did put the Brewers in the headline, and we did talk a little bit about it in the first hour of the show, but the Brewers held their winter fan fest last night. And I know that Matt Arnold talked about the money, and really the only thing they've done, they've added Wade Miley and Brian Anderson through free agency. And this is a team that normally will wait until just either into camp or just about camp getting underway to make their acquisition. So if the Brewers, if they're so willing to spend money, because Matt Arnold said, Mark Attanasio has been great. He's been super supportive over the years and maintains that today as well. So if the front office is so willing to spend money, why has Milwaukee only spent, I think it's $8 million on two guys? Now they'll say our payroll is going up. Why? Because of arbitration. Some of the guys that you re-signed and had arbitration eligible, but you didn't go out and spending more money to us, to the fan, means not that you're spending more money on guys you already have. It means you're buying guys. You're bringing in additional players. Okay. And Craig Counsell, said every team goes into the winter with different situations, all that kind of stuff. He said you have to be smart and disciplined. That is another word for, we don't have the money as everybody else does. We have to be really smart about who we get, when we get them, and how much we can get them for a discount. That's what that means. We're not that far away from spring training and the facilities starting to open up. And as a matter of fact, they're open now, as a matter of fact. But the teams around the Brewers got better. The Brewers pulled off a nice trade, getting Contreras. His brother Wilson goes to a 5-year, $87.5 million deal to the Cardinals. The Cubs, they get Dansby Swanson, Tucker Barnhart, Hosmer, the guys, Cody Bellinger, I think. So look, teams around the division are trying to get better, and they're trying to go out and make moves and spend some money. And, the big argument, like Ben said earlier, is, is Christian Watson any better? Or Christian Watson, is Christian Yelich any better? Is he better? Because if he's not, then you're still sitting there with the $29 million albatross around your neck. So, there's a lot of things to this for the Brewers to get better. And as you look at that roster and you think to yourself, okay, what do you got? And you got still Yelich. It starts with him. Willie Adames, obviously, who has not had contract negotiations, or at least they've somewhat broken off. Rowdy Tellez, most likely back at first base. And, after the $4.5 million he got. Contreras at catcher, Urias over at third. We know that Jesse Winker is going to be your DH. You're counting on Garrett Mitchell out in the outfield along with Tyrone Taylor, and Tyrone Taylor's finally getting his big legitimate shot. Your second base is most likely Bryce Terang. Keston Hiura could play over there. Yeah, Brian Anderson is your kind of utility guy. Caratini's going to be your backup catcher. It's not a terrible lineup, but what changed dramatically from last year to this year? Maybe it's just a fact that you got a couple of bats, but you still have Burns and Woodruff and Lauer and Peralta and now Wade Miley, which if everybody performs to what you expect of them, it's a really good starting rotation. Have you gotten better in your bullpen? You're still looking at Ashby and Guerra and what is it? Devin Williams is going to be a closer. You know, you still got a lot of those same guys. You just feel like you just need another piece or two, you know? You just feel like that. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. When you say it's not about the money and you keep showing us it's about the money, until you go out and I give them credit for the Christian Yelich signing. They did spend the money. And we all kind of looked at each other and went, wow, what a deal. That's a bargain basement price for a guy that's hitting like that. Now we know why. You know? But a lot of people still cannot get past the Hader trade. You can't look at us and say it's Juan Soto. We were in. We would spend that money, and yet we all know why you got rid of Josh Hader. It's just a steaming pant load. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, Here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers have a number of veteran players up for free agency. Kicker Mason Crosby is one Aaron Rodgers says he wants back if he decides to return to Green Bay.
A guy like Mercedes Lewis is an important cog in the wheel of the locker room and the momentum of the team. I want the Randall Cobbs of the world, if he wants to be playing, in my locker room. You know, Alan Lazard, Bobby Tunyon, Dave Bakhtiari, their desire to re-sign these certain guys who are glue guys in the locker room will be an interesting conversation to be had.
Robert Tunyon is an unrestricted free agent. The 28-year-old tight end struggled at the start of the season coming off that torn ACL injury the year before and says it was tough the other day saying goodbye after the season was over.
I think that's honestly the hardest part is not knowing who you're going to play with next year. In terms of like just the reality of an NFL locker room, just people come and go, I mean, daily, to be honest with you. And then, of course, after the season, you just never know. So that's kind of why you can't take things for granted and people for granted, because you never know when you're going to play with them again or see them or, you know, talk to them and feel their energy. So, yeah, that's probably the hardest part.
The 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. in the divisional playoffs. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey was asked, how has Brock Purdy been able to go 6-0 as a rookie quarterback?
He's able to go out there and play with some juice, and he's extremely confident, and he's exactly what you would want in a quarterback. You know, no moment is too big for him, and he makes corrections quickly.
That's the 49ers' Christian McCaffrey. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Matt Mitchell going to be joining us. Mark Schofield going to be joining us. Mike Clemens going to be joining us. We got a couple of songs for quarterbacks. We'll talk about tomorrow. Ben, did you see that one person, I think it was in Maine, won the $1.3 billion Mega Millions or whatever it was?
I did not.
One person. And I'm only going to read you the headline, okay, out of the Boston 25 News. Said, quote, the winner overcame steep odds in his quest for $1.3 million or $1.3 billion. He bought a ticket. He didn't climb a mountain.
Well, it depends where the convenience store was.
Shut up. I mean, you know, some of this stuff, look, it's a small Maine town. It borders New Hampshire, you know, where this guy wanted. But he overcame immense odds to climb.
What town was it?
It's like, which
does it say?
You know, let's see here. Sold in the home.
I'll find it.
It was Lebanon, Maine. It was sold at the Hometown Gas and Grill in Lebanon. You've been there?
Yeah.
Ski town?
It's just, I've done a lot of camping up there.
Okay.
Up in the Northeast, Adirondacks region.
The Hometown Gas and Grill in Lebanon. It's never like Quick Trip, you know? It's always like mom and pop's, you know, dog wash in the front, convenience store in the back, selling homemade jerky out of, you know, humans. It's just, you know, it's always some weird place that wins these things. It just does. I want to see, like, you know, somebody in Wisconsin just went into a Quick Trip, bought $20 worth, walked away, billionaire. Bam! There you have it. Never happens like that. There's always these little out-of-the-way places that sell these things. So, anyway, that's it. Oh, my goodness. So he's loaded up. He claims $1.35 billion. The winner is going to take it out in an annuity. Over 29 years, which I think will be dead by then. Which I take that back. I think he's taking the one-time payout, $724.6 million. Remember back in the day when that can actually get you a franchise? Not anymore. That buys you maybe half a franchise, if that. But $724.6 million is what this guy now has in the bank. That'll buy you anything. And you can retire. You don't even have to waffle about it. You don't have to say whether you may or may not come back. You can just retire. Be good to go. I'd still do this. I know people say, nah, you wouldn't. I think, like, yeah, I would. I still do it. I may take a little more time off, but I'd still do it. I'd buy the station. I'd buy stations.
Oh,
Do that.
God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'd have a whole different set of sponsors, too, Ben. You'd be sitting in a big, pink, fuzzy couch, like the back of a van from the 70s. Oh, yeah. Lava lamps going. You'd be in. That'll do it. Good day. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Good stuff. I may or may not be doing some type of a live cast tonight. I don't know. I'm feeling it. Time for us to go. Till we talk again, whether it's later tonight.